After Sam cleared the corrupted rift, news of it spread across the continent like wildfire. Within hours, awakening associations and major broadcasters issued emergency warnings. Reports spoke of a new kind of rift, one that didn't follow any known rules. They urged awakeners everywhere to stay vigilant. Sam's role was barely mentioned. The sole survivor remained nameless in every announcement. Whether David Union orchestrated that or someone else, Sam didn't care. He wasn't chasing fame. A few hours later, his phone buzzed. The message was short. "We have informed the association about you. Go there to receive the location of the rifts." True to his word, David had reserved 3 rifts for him. Such reservations weren't rare, but they cost a fortune. Wealthy guilds often fought for them. Why David would spend that kind of money on him was a mystery Sam didn't bother solving. The next morning, he stepped into his first rift, Night Plains. It was vast, dim, and crawling with shadow beasts. Sam cut through them without pause, and a few hours later, ding! Congratulations to Sam Walker for leveling up to level 9 of the novice rank. He didn't celebrate. He simply moved on. Day 2, the crumbled ruins. A collapsing labyrinth filled with skeletal monsters. He cleared it cleanly, each strike precise, each item stored in his spatial inventory. Day 3, the final rift awaited. Moonlight Forest. Rank Novice. Recommended level 10. A pale silver glow lit the trees, the air thick with moss and moonlight. Sam pressed forward, cutting through every beast that came at him. They were quick, savage, but not enough to slow him. At last, the final boss appeared. Moonlight Wolf, level 10. Harnesses the power of the moon above. Sam's grip tightened on the Primordial sword. One slash, crimson and absolute, tore the beast apart before it could even howl. Ding! Congratulations to Sam Walker for leveling up to level 10 of the novice rank. You may now attempt an advancement task. Sam smirked. Finally, the golden panel shifted, but then, very well, Primordial. He froze. The system had addressed him directly. And then came the challenge. Chosen difficulty. Hell. SSS ranked advancement task. Conquer the first sublayer. What? Before he could process it, Hell mode analysis activated. Underneath every layer lies a far harder sublayer. No one has discovered them yet. Very soon, the world will tremble. Sam rubbed his temples. Figures. But then his phone rang. Alicia's voice burst through, bright and cheerful. "Sam, you cleared all your rifts, right? We just hit level 10 too. And guess what? The system gave me the hardest task. Something about a sublayer." Sam froze, his grip tightening on the phone. And then, a crimson panel appeared before his eyes. "The bad feeling you had intensified. Perfect. We were confused at first too." Alicia's voice rang through the call, bright as ever. "But me and Lily got the exact same quest at the same time. No way that's a coincidence." Sam frowned, processing her words in silence. "We're planning to head into the first layer soon," she went on, "just to see what this sublayer thing even is." For a moment, Sam debated keeping quiet. Then he sighed. "I got the quest too." "What?" Alicia gasped. "The sublayer. Same advancement task. I'll be there." Alicia's excitement burst through the line. "That's perfect. That means we'll all be together again. And this time, we won't let you carry everything alone." Sam smiled faintly, though his eyes stayed cold. "Let's meet first. A restaurant. Talk it over." "Done," she chirped. "I'll tell Lily." They set the time, ended the call, and Sam dropped the phone beside him on the bed. His gaze lingered on the ceiling. Of course they'd be dragged into this. They're heroines. The world won't let them sit this one out. But the fact that they'd received the same impossible quest as him told him everything. Hell mode was raising the stakes again. Here, nothing came free. Rewards always a blade. He pushed the thought aside and focused on preparation. Yesterday, he had evolved his 4th skill. Shadow Tendrils, Epic, Grasp of the Abyss, Legendary, Tendrils of Oblivion, Forsaken. It was stronger, deadlier, but the real prize would come after completing the advancement. Reaching level 10 had locked new skills until the task was done. The system was waiting to judge him. Fine, Sam thought. Then I'll give it something worth rewarding. Morning came quickly. After breakfast, he caught a cab to the uptown restaurant Alicia had chosen. Predictably expensive. Inside, Alicia and Lily were already waiting by the window. He slid into the booth across from them. "Morning," Sam greeted. "Glad you're here," Alicia said with a smile. Lily nodded calmly. "We'll do whatever it takes to complete this task." "Sublayers aren't normal rifts," Sam said, folding his arms. "If we really are the first to enter one, take it seriously. They're worse than anything you've faced." Neither girl argued. They believed him. "I've got 2 new skills," Alicia said. "I'm ready." "Same here," Lily added. "And I haven't told anyone else about it." "Good. Keep it that way," Sam said flatly. "We don't need more people dragged in." After the meal, paid for effortlessly by Alicia, the 3 stepped outside and caught a bullet train toward the first outer ring. Sam's thoughts drifted as the train sped along. Only designated zones allowed entry into the Forsaken Realm. The deeper the ring, the harsher the layers. No one had even seen the 5th or 6th yet. But their goal wasn't some distant level. It was the sublayer hidden beneath the very first. When the train doors hissed open, Sam led them out into the wilds. "Let me try first." He closed his eyes, focusing on the image of the Forsaken Realm. Panels shimmered before him. "Which layer do you wish to enter?" "First, second." "First," Sam answered in his mind. Another panel flashed. "Very well, Primordial." Fwish! A ripple split the air, a glowing blue portal twisting reality opened before them. Alicia blinked. "Didn't know you had a gentleman's side." "Don't be fooled," Lily laughed. "He's just tossing us in first to check for traps." Sam smirked, saying nothing as the 2 stepped through. He followed. Another panel appeared the moment his foot crossed the threshold.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Bam! Sam landed on solid ground as the portal closed behind him, dispersing in a soft hum of energy. The ruined landscape of the first layer spread before him, a familiar sight of the ruins. Alicia and Lily had already been here since they stepped into the portal first. "All right," Sam said, glancing around the cracked stone floor beneath their feet. "We need to find that sublayer." He spoke with focus, not bothering to waste time. Being from Earth, Sam had grown up with video games. That perspective had helped him make sense of this world more than once. Sublayers, to him, felt like optional sublevels, hidden content that wasn't obvious unless you were actively looking for it or knew exactly where to check. And if this really was still modeled like a game, then the sublayer had to be hidden somehow. But how are we supposed to find it? Alicia asked, her voice tinged with concern. "I mean, I've never heard of sublayer before this. Not once. And I've spent hours researching dungeons, layers, you name it." "Or," Sam said, tilting his head as a small smirk crept across his face, "maybe people did find it, but they never lived long enough to talk about it." That sentence alone was enough to make Alicia blink, and Lily's expression subtly darkened. It made sense. The system already warned them that no one had cleared the sublayer. So it wasn't about no one finding it. It was about no one surviving it. The more he thought about it, the more that really bad feeling in the back of his head started to claw its way into his chest. It had never left since he received the advancement task, and now that they were here, it was only getting stronger. Still, the question remained, where was it? "This might take a while," Lily sighed, scanning the surrounding ruins. "There's no map for this place. We might have to comb every corner before finding anything." "It's fine," Alicia responded. "We're here now. We're ready. I believe in us." Sam stayed quiet, closing his eyes for a moment as he took a slow breath. The more he lingered in this place, the more impatient he became. He didn't want to search for hours. He didn't want to waste energy pacing through every corridor or guessing random corners of the map. No, he just wanted to jump in and get this over with. Clear the sublayer, finish the task, and finally ascend to the apprentice rank. So he reached out. "Hey," he said in his mind, focusing on the passive voice that had helped him before. Hell mode analysis. Tell me where it is. He knew the skill didn't always respond. It activated when it wanted, when it felt there was something to say, but asking cost nothing. And just as he was about to open his eyes and give up, ding, hell mode analysis, it's in the ruins. The panel flashed in his vision for a second, then vanished. Sam grinned. That was enough. Perfect, he said aloud. Alicia blinked. Did you find something? Maybe, Sam replied, keeping it vague. Let's keep moving. They advanced into the crumbled ruins, taking cautious steps. 30 minutes passed, the stone corridors stretching deeper and deeper, forming a maze-like structure with winding paths and dead ends. But something was strange. No monsters approached them. They spotted a few lurking in corners or creeping near broken columns. But the moment any of those creatures caught sight of the trio, they ran, turned tail, and vanished into the darkness without even attempting a fight. That's weird, Lily said, narrowing her eyes. Even weak monsters usually try to lunge at you. Exactly, Alicia nodded. We're strong, sure, but monsters don't usually care. They attack anything that breathes. Sam already had the answer, of course. He glanced toward a thin corridor where a goblin was retreating and the skill triggered. Hell mode analysis. They're scared of you. Sam didn't say it out loud, but he suspected it had to do with his nature as a primordial. That, or maybe the monsters could sense his aura. Either way, it was peaceful. Too peaceful. Eventually, after dozens of turns and long walks, they arrived at a room unlike any other. It looked plain square, with 4 torches lining each wall and the same dusty stone tiles that covered the entire ruin. But the moment Sam stepped in, he knew, this is it. He crouched and brushed some of the dust away from the floor in the center. There, concealed beneath the grime and dim lighting, was a trapdoor. Found it, Sam said with a confident grin. The girls quickly moved beside him, their eyes widening. No wonder no one ever found it, Alicia muttered. That's ridiculously well hidden. Sam didn't think so. Not really. The trapdoor wasn't that hard to find, which only confirmed his earlier suspicion. People did find it. They just never came back. But wait, Lily said, frowning. That doesn't make sense. I get that no one's cleared it, but why didn't anyone report this trapdoor? Even if they died inside, someone should have mentioned it before heading in. I've never heard a single mention of a trapdoor in the first layer, Alicia added. Ever. Sam blinked, then turned his head toward the entrance they'd just come from. Oh, his eyes narrowed and the pieces clicked. The hallway they'd used to enter the room? Gone. Completely vanished. What the fuck? Alicia gasped, spinning around. Lily's expression turned to full-blown panic. That hallway was just there. A panel slid into Sam's vision, confirming the truth. Hell mode analysis. The Forsaken realm traps anyone who enters this room until they complete the sublayer. But no one has ever managed to do that. That was why the trapdoor was a secret. Because once you found it, once you even entered the room, it was already too late. The system didn't give you a choice. The only exit now was forward. Sam didn't waste time. He crouched again, gripped the edge of the trapdoor, and with one fluid motion, lifted it open. A cold wind blew out from the dark abyss below. No stairs, no light, just emptiness. Sam stared into the void. You still have a really bad feeling about this. Doesn't matter. Without hesitation, he jumped. Lily and Alicia stared in shock as his figure vanished into the darkness. He really just... Alicia blinked, jumped without a second thought. Lily finished. They didn't hesitate long. Weapons drawn, the 2 girls leapt after him. Falling felt like forever. The air was thick and heavy as Sam descended into the unknown. Then, bam! He landed on cold, cracked stone again, but this place was different. The light above was gone. No torches, only black. You have entered a sublayer. First sublayer, the abyssal ruins. Good luck. You'll need it. Sam rose to his feet, his hand on the hilt of his primordial sword. All around him, there was nothing but pitch-black silence. And yet, something watched. He knew it. You are surrounded by darkness. The creatures lurking in here will not spare you. His crimson eyes shimmered faintly, casting a small glow as he scanned the area. Moments later, Alicia and Lily landed beside him. "What is this place?" Alicia whispered, her voice shaking slightly. "So this is the sublayer?" "I have a bad feeling about this," Lily muttered. "I don't know whether to be honored that the system thinks I'm strong enough to survive this, or terrified that it wants me dead." Sam didn't respond, but in his mind, he was leaning toward the second. This wasn't a test. It was a culling. Still, he would pass. Gripping his blade tighter, Sam promised himself that he would clear this nightmare, and do so with the highest rating possible. "Let's go," Lily said, raising her bow and summoning a fire arrow, which crackled to life and illuminated a small part of the path ahead. The three of them stepped forward into the endless dark. The weight pressing on Sam's chest grew heavier, but he wasn't scared. He couldn't feel fear after all. In the corner of his vision, a small panel appeared. The abyssal ruins felt like a twisted mirror of the novice ruins they had already explored before. Same architecture, same winding hallways of aged stone and crumbling archways, but the mood was entirely different. It was colder here, darker, and the silence that hung over the sublayer was pressing down on them from every direction. Sam adjusted quickly to the darkness. His senses had already been sharpened over the course of his time in this world, and now his crimson eyes let him see just enough to navigate the ruined maze without stumbling. Alicia and Lily, on the other hand, kept close together. Lily held a glowing fire arrow high in the air to serve as their guiding light, the faint flame flickering against the blackened stone as they moved forward. "So," Alicia eventually asked, her voice cutting through the silence, "what exactly is the goal of sublayer? Are we supposed to find a way out? Or is there some boss we have to beat?" Sam didn't respond immediately. His eyes glowed slightly as he looked forward, the subtle red gleam scanning the darkness ahead. He could feel something, a pressure far away, but unmistakably there. He didn't need hell mode analysis to know what it meant. There was something deeper in the ruins, something powerful, something watching. It was the strongest presence he had felt from a monster since arriving in this world. Eventually, he spoke, his tone quiet but absolute. "We need to kill whatever governs this place." That was all he said, and yet that one sentence made both girls go still. "All right," Lily replied with a serious nod, adjusting her grip on her bow. "Then we'll be ready." The two girls couldn't sense the overwhelming pressure like Sam could, but they trusted his judgment. His confidence alone was enough to push them forward. Sam led the way, his primordial sword gripped in one hand as they walked deeper into the cold black corridors of the ruins. As they walked, he silently opened his status window to confirm his current condition. Name: Sam Walker. Class: Primordial. Rank: Novice. Level: 410. Strength: 814. Agility: 713. Constitution: 814. Soul: 1426. Affinities: Shadow. Class skills: Spatial Inventory, Primordial Evolution, Hell Mode Analysis. Skills: Primordial Sword Technique, Forsaken. Abyssal Obliteration, Forsaken. Eternal Barrier, Forsaken. Tendrils of Oblivion, Forsaken. His stats had risen significantly after hitting level 10, especially his soul stat, which now sat at 26, a massive jump that gave him a considerable power boost. Not to mention, all four of his skills had already reached Forsaken rank. Right now, Sam was in perfect condition to tackle anything this sublayer threw at him. He glanced at Alicia and Lily. "Listen," he said calmly. "If something happens, don't try anything reckless. I'll handle it." His voice carried no doubt. When they looked at him, they didn't see hesitation. Lily and Alicia nodded, mentally preparing themselves as they pushed onward through the ruinous halls. 10 minutes passed with nothing out of the ordinary. The ruins twisted on with their usual endless stone, until they finally stepped into a narrow hallway. That's when it happened. Sam suddenly stopped. His body tensed. Something wasn't right. And then, fwish, slash, out of a darkened corner of the hallway, a pair of glowing purple eyes appeared without warning. A long black blade swung out from the shadows, aiming straight for Alicia. But Sam was faster. Clang! He blocked the attack with his sword, sparks flying off the impact. Then, in one clean motion, he struck back. Fwish! Slash! His sword flashed through the air, and the creature's head flew off its body. A moment later, it hit the floor with a heavy thud. It's starting, Sam muttered, already turning to face the rest of the corridor. Abyssal Knight. Level 10. Description: a knight born of the darkness within these ruins. They are powerful, patient hunters. Hell mode analysis. It's dead, but there are many others like it. Sam absorbed the creature's core with a quick gesture. He had already reached the max level for the novice rank, so experience didn't matter, but he still felt a small rush of energy return to his body. That attack alone would have ended most novice-ranked awakeners. Thank you. Alicia breathed out in relief, but her eyes narrowed again. But we're not done. As soon as the first Abyssal Knight fell, the air began to tremble. The sound of steel scraping against stone echoed all around them. From the shadows of the hallway and every corner of the surrounding ruins, more knights emerged, each of them clad in pitch-black armor, purple eyes glowing, long swords raised. Alicia's hand tightened around her blade. There's so many. Sam's skill activated once more. Hell mode analysis. Knights of the Abyssal King. You feel his gaze on you. That must be the boss, Sam thought to himself, narrowing his eyes. Doesn't matter. He raised one hand into the air and, without a word, activated Abyssal Obliteration. Two shadowy portals appear behind him, each one crackling with dark energy. Thanks to his increased soul stat, he could now maintain two portals at once, and he positioned them to face opposite directions. The moment the knights charged, the portals responded. Bang, bang, bang. Dozens of shadow bullets blasted from the portals, each one moving with incredible speed and precision. The first wave of Abyssal Knights was torn to pieces before they even reached him. Those that slipped through were met by Alicia and Lily. Alicia charged forward, her blade glowing with the effects of blooming buff, slashing cleanly through an armored knight's chest. Lily stood behind, drawing her bow and channeling elemental charge into her next arrow. She let it loose, and the shot pierced through the eye of a charging knight, sending it collapsing in one clean hit. Sam nodded as he watched them fight. As expected of heroines, he thought, eyes calm. They can hold their own, but I'm doing the heavy lifting. And it was true. He moved like a storm, cutting through any knight that got too close. His portals never stopped firing, and any enemy foolish enough to try sneaking up on them was reduced to nothing but ash. 2 minutes later, the last of the Abyssal Knights dropped to its knees and collapsed, its purple glow fading away into darkness. Silence returned. Sam exhaled slowly and muttered under his breath, "Don't worry. I'll kill your king too." There was no hesitation in his voice, only willpower, the kind of mindset only someone like Sam could have as a primordial, and he would clear this sublayer no matter what stood in his path. Without a word, he crouched and absorbed the cores left behind by the knights, feeling the lingering energy pulse through his being. "I don't think the sublayer is too large," he finally said, rising. "But there are more monsters ahead. I can still sense them." Alicia and Lily looked at each other. Despite the pressure, despite the danger, they smiled. They were scared, sure, but Sam wasn't just powerful. He was relentless, and they were glad to be by his side. Sam grabbed most of the items and tossed them inside of his spatial inventory until he found something actually useful. Ring of Darkness. Rank common. Description: wearing this right allows you to see in the dark using purple flames. Hell mode analysis. It's a guaranteed drop from killing the Abyssal Knights. Exactly 3 of these rings had dropped, and Sam simply wore one while giving the 2 others to Lily and Alicia. Then together, the 3 of them pressed forward into the darkness once more toward the heart of the Abyssal ruins and the king that waited for them there. On their way deeper into the sublayer, Sam, Lily, and Alicia had to deal with wave after wave of Abyssal Knights. Each hallway they crossed, each room they cleared, more of those shadow-armored monsters appeared. There didn't seem to be an end. "I think I see why no one ever cleared this," Alicia finally muttered, panting slightly. Even her stamina was starting to run low. They'd been pushing forward without rest, and the deeper they got, the stronger the enemies seemed to become. Once someone reached apprentice rank, they weren't allowed to enter the first layer anymore. That meant this entire sublayer had to be completed while still being a level 10 novice. I don't think anyone other than Sam could even hope to clear it, Lily added, wiping her forehead. This place is too dangerous. The difficulty is insane. If it wasn't for the rings of darkness they wore, they wouldn't have even seen most of the enemies coming. The pitch black of the abyssal ruins was complete, no torches, no light. Only darkness, and the purple glint of hostile eyes in the shadows. Eventually, they entered a massive room. Unlike the rest of the ruins, this one had a strange blue glow at its center, illuminating everything in a cold, ghostly light. At the far end of the room stood a giant gate. Sam stepped forward first. The presence he had been feeling, the one that had been sitting at the back of his mind ever since they entered this place, suddenly grew stronger. "We're close," he said, his voice steady and low. The gate pulsed slightly, and Sam could tell that the being behind it was something powerful, more powerful than anything they'd faced in here so far. As he walked toward it, a thought crossed his mind. What even is the plot of Forsaken? Every game had a goal, some sort of purpose. Was it to save the world? To reach the universal stage by conquering every layer? Or was there something else that hadn't been revealed yet? Sam shook his head. It didn't matter now. He had made it this far, and he would keep going. Whatever was behind that gate, he would deal with it. But just as he approached the large door, fwish, slash, a sharp sound echoed through the room, and his instincts kicked in. He looked up, and that's when he saw them. Two large figures perched on the top pillars near the gate, looking down at him. "Be careful." Boom! Before Sam could even finish his sentence, one of them fired an arrow that slammed into him at terrifying speed. His eternal barrier flickered as it tanked the attack. Without that, the arrow would have killed him on the spot. Sam gritted his teeth and analyzed his opponents right away. The Abyssal Guardians boss. Level 10. Description: Guardians that protect the gate to the Abyssal King. They are his final line of defense. Helmut analysis. They're a duo. One uses a bow, the other a spear. The two Guardians were towering figures, at least 2 meters tall. Their bodies were packed with muscle, and their armor was as dark as the ruins themselves. Purple energy leaked from their eyes, just like the knights they'd fought earlier. The one with the spear lunged at Sam, and he quickly raised his primordial sword to block the strike. Fwish! Bam! The clash sent a shock wave through the floor, and Sam slid back a few feet. How the hell is that thing still considered a novice rank monster? He pushed forward again, trying to force the spear guardian back with sheer strength, but the monster's physical power was no joke. Meanwhile, the other guardian had its bow ready and aimed directly at Lily. "Shit!" Lily shouted as she summoned her power, activating elemental charge. Energy from all 5 elements gathered into her next arrow. Fwish! Boom! Her arrow clashed with the guardian's shot mid-air, resulting in an explosion that lit up the room with light and shadows. "Take the archer down!" Sam shouted as he ducked under another spear swing. The spear guardian pressed hard. Its strikes were brutal and calculated. Sam took a few hits, barely blocked in time by his sword. Even though his strength was immense, this monster was still holding its own. But eventually, Sam's patience ran out. Tendrils of oblivion. From the primordial sword, dozens of tendrils burst out in every direction, swirling with a dark and star-speckled aura. They wrapped around the guardian's spear, twisting and tearing until it broke with a sharp snap. The guardian tried to pull back, but the tendrils didn't give a chance. They wrapped around its arms, legs, torso, everything. Sam smiled and checked the skill panel again. Tendrils of Oblivion. Rank: Forsaken. Description: tendrils emerge from the primordial sword to bind, restrain, and kill enemies. Helmut analysis: even more kinky. The spear guardian struggled for a moment before Sam leaped forward and slashed down hard. Fwish! Crack! The tendrils pulled, and the guardian's head snapped clean off. Meanwhile, Alicia and Lily were doing their best to keep the archer busy. Lily, kept firing, and Alicia used her skills to close the distance, dodging arrows as they flew past her. Still, Sam could tell they were starting to get overwhelmed. Another arrow whistled through the air, nearly hitting Alicia. He reacted fast. The tendrils from his sword whipped across the room, wrapped around the Bow Guardian's leg, and pulled it down. As it hit the ground, Sam appeared above it and drove his sword into its chest. Silence returned to the room. Both Guardians were dead. Sam exhaled slowly and walked over to the bodies. Abyssal Spear. Rank, Epic. Hell Mode Analysis. No use for us. Abyssal Bow. Rank, Epic. Hell Mode Analysis. No use for us. He picked up the spear and stored it in his spatial inventory, then handed the bow over to Lily. Oh, thanks, Lily said as she took the bow. She scanned its stats. Wow, it's actually better than my current one. They also found 2 dark spheres lying near the corpses of the Guardians. Hell Mode Analysis. Use these to open the gate. Sam nodded and picked them up. As he approached the gate, he noticed 2 orb-shaped slots carved into the stone doors. After absorbing the 2 Guardian cores, he slid both orbs into the openings. Fwish! Boom! You have opened the Abyssal Gate. The end of the sublayer is near. Be prepared to meet with the king. As the gate began to open slowly, an overwhelming pressure burst out from the other side. Sam shielded his face with his arm. Even without seeing it yet, he knew that whatever was on the other side was dangerous. Still, he didn't flinch. There was no turning back now. Sam stepped through the gate, and Lily and Alicia followed close behind. You have entered the Abyssal King's lair. The moment Sam saw the message, his expression shifted. His eyes narrowed as a quiet seriousness took over his face. There was something about that title, Abyssal King, that immediately told him this wasn't like anything they had faced before. He turned around slightly, and even without saying a word, he could tell Lily and Alicia felt it too. That presence, that weight in the air, it was heavy, far heavier than before. The pressure alone was so strong that most novice-rank awakeners would have passed out just from stepping inside. But Sam wasn't like them. He wasn't here to hesitate or back down. His only goal was to grow stronger, and nothing, not even a presence like this, would keep him from moving forward. They descended a long set of stairs, one that spiraled down to the deepest part of the ruins. Eventually, they reached the bottom, entering a massive hall. The light dimmed even further as they went, until the torches lit up in purple flames on the walls. Black statues lined each side of the hallway, each one shaped exactly like the Abyssal Guardians they had defeated earlier. Lily's eyes sharpened immediately. She raised her bow, preparing a shot, and Alicia tightened her grip on her sword. These might be traps, Alicia said under her breath. But Sam didn't even slow his pace. Hell Mode Analysis. They're actual statues. Just keep going. The king is close. He walked right past them, eyes fixed ahead. At the very end of the long hallway stood a door different from the others. It wasn't just another passage deeper in. No, this was the final door. The last step. Behind that door was the one they had been heading toward this entire time. The source of the dark aura Sam had felt since they first stepped into the sublayer. The one that now felt strong enough to crush a mountain. He stopped just in front of it and looked back at the 2 girls behind him. Are you ready? He asked plainly, voice steady. Neither of them answered at first. The pressure was suffocating now, and even breathing felt heavy. But then, they looked at each other and nodded. They didn't need to say it out loud. They had followed him this far. They weren't turning back. Sam placed his hand on the door and gave it a strong push. The door creaked open slowly, and a silver mist spilled out from within. He smiled. That's the boss area, he muttered, gripping his primordial sword tighter. Let's go. Without hesitation, he stepped through the mist. Eternal barrier. 42/50ths. He still had most of his defense left, which meant that even if something tried to ambush him, he was ready for it. The mist was thick. He walked for what felt like a full minute, the fog swirling around his feet and arms with every step. And then, you have arrived, Primordial. The words appeared right before the mist cleared. Sam walked out into a massive room. For massive pillars of darkness surrounded him. and the walls were glowing faintly with that same eerie blue light. It felt cold, silent, and at the far end of the room was a throne. Sitting on it was a figure, tall and draped in robes made of shifting black mist. Its eyes glowed with a sharp purple light, narrow and piercing. It didn't move, but Sam could feel the weight of its gaze. He didn't stop. He just kept walking. Interesting, the voice echoed from the throne. Sam's steps didn't falter. The first human to ever reach this place. The figure spoke again, voice low and hollow. And you are one of them, I see. You will die, Sam answered calmly, spinning his sword once in his hand. His own crimson aura began to rise, clashing quietly with the thick darkness in the room. Lily and Alicia emerged from the mist behind him and instantly stopped in place. Their instincts screamed at them not to move. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper, like their bodies knew they weren't allowed to interfere. You brought others, the king said, rising from the throne at last. His form came into full view now. The Abyssal King was a tall being wrapped in an elegant jagged armor made of shadow. His hair was silver and long, and on his head was a sharp black crown. In his hands, he held the Abyssal Sword Spear, a terrifying weapon that could cut from a distance and pierce at close range. But I think it is better to fight me fairly. Isn't it, Primordial? Sam narrowed his eyes. The king had called him by his class. It wasn't just a coincidence. This thing knew what he was. It doesn't matter. Kill him. Sam nodded, taking in the information calmly. Abyssal King, Layer Boss. Level 10. Skills. Description: the boss that controls the first layer, governor of the darkness of these ruins. Hell mode analysis: the first of the 6, kill him without a shred of mercy. Only true strength will beat that thing. Sam's gaze sharpened. So this was it. Unlike the Guardian Swordmaster, who had been labeled a boss, this enemy had a different tag: Layer Boss. This was the true ruler of the first layer. That meant something very important. The real challenge of each layer was not above, but hidden underneath in these sublayers. And that made Sam smile. While the others above are fighting monsters just to survive. He looked up at the ceiling of the massive lair. The real test was always down here. That also meant the true form of each layer was this. These hidden zones, these death chambers where only the strongest would ever walk. But he didn't have time to dwell on that. The Abyssal King slowly lifted his weapon. "Let us begin," the king said. With a snap of his fingers, a massive wall of purple flames rose from the ground, circling the area like a dome. Lily and Alicia ended up on the other side of the wall, completely separated from Sam. "The fact that you are here means the prophecy is beginning," the king said, his voice darker now. "I cannot allow it. You must die." Fwish! Bam! The Abyssal King moved instantly. His speed was unreal. In the blink of an eye, he slashed at Sam 10 times, so fast that even Sam could barely see it. Sam gritted his teeth and raised his sword to block. Eternal Barrier, 32/50ths. His barrier held, but the power behind the attacks was more intense than anything he had ever faced head-on. His eyes flared brighter. So this is the strength of a true layer boss, he thought. He couldn't imagine what a second layer boss would be like. Or third. And if this one knew he was a primordial, it was likely others would too. Still, it didn't matter. He wasn't going to lose. The Abyssal King floated back and raised his weapon again. "I have waited so long to see one of your kind," he said. Fwish! Boom! He dashed forward once more, but this time, Sam reacted fast. He activated his primordial sword technique and began deflecting the king's strikes one by one. Their weapons clashed, sparks flew, and Sam saw an opening. He struck, a clean hit across the king's side, then a sharp kick to push him back. The blow didn't kill him, far from it, but it did leave a mark on the king's armor. A small crack. The king looked at it and smiled grimly. His purple aura surged again, and the entire room trembled under the pressure. "So be it," the Abyssal King said coldly. "Your kind never gives up after all. That determination of yours will be your end. Kill him." Sam didn't hesitate. He lifted his arm and summoned 2 portals above him. "I'll use everything I have too." Bang! 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 From the two portals summoned above, abyssal obliteration fired off dozens upon dozens of shadow bullets. They whistled through the air, aimed straight at the Abyssal King, relentless and rapid. But instead of dodging or bracing for impact, the king calmly raised the arm holding his weapon, the abyssal sword spear, and began spinning it. The rotation was fast, precise, and powerful. A wave of force pushed outward as the spear spun, intercepting every single bullet. Each dark projectile that reached him was shredded and erased as if it had never existed. And the king didn't just defend, he advanced. With every step forward, the pressure in the room thickened, like the very air itself was responding to his movement. Abyssal step, the king murmured, and in the blink of an eye, his form melted into the shadows. Sam's eyes narrowed. The portals stopped firing. He turned his head sharply, scanning the room, but he couldn't see anything, not a shadow out of place, not a single movement. And then, slash, slash, slash. The king emerged right behind him, striking 5 times in rapid succession, and before Sam could retaliate, the king had already vanished again. I can sense that barrier of yours, the king's voice echoed from nowhere. But it cannot last forever. Slash, slash, slash. 5 more attacks came from another angle, just as fast, just as clean, and then disappeared again. So, this is how you want to fight? Sam gritted his teeth, his crimson eyes flaring brighter, a storm of power swirling around them. Fine. Out your way. Tendrils of oblivion. With that command, dozens of tendrils burst from his primordial sword, slithering outward and curling into the air like living shadows. This time, when the king emerged from the darkness for another surprise attack. Snap! The tendrils were waiting. They wrapped tightly around the king's arm, chest, and legs, locking him in place mid-swing. You? The king's voice dropped, his eyes narrowing as the pressure from the tendrils increased. His movement stalled. Slash! Sam didn't waste time. He struck without hesitation, cutting deep into the king's side with a clean slash. Arg! The Abyssal King let out a twisted, guttural groan as dark blood trickled from his mouth. Your kind is truly relentless. Sam wasn't sure what he meant by your kind. Was he talking about humans? Or was it something deeper? Either way, it didn't matter. Sam gripped his sword tighter and prepared to finish it. But before he could move, boom! A violent explosion of darkness erupted from the king's body. The surge of power was enough to break every tendril instantly, scattering their remnants into the air like black mist. The king's aura spiked. Purple light surged in every direction, slamming into the walls of the chamber. The air trembled. I am so tired of waiting, the king roared, his voice filled with something Sam couldn't quite place: rage, grief, and maybe fear. Let us end this. He raised his weapon. Sam stepped forward, doing the same. Eternal barrier, 12 of 50. Just 12 more hits, and his only line of defense would shatter. But that didn't stop him. This was the kind of fight he had trained for. The reason he had evolved all his skills. This was why he pushed so hard. Hell mode analysis. The Abyssal King is ready to start the final clash. You simply need to overwhelm him with your sword technique. Sam nodded silently. The king moved first. Fwish! A blur of black and violet energy closed the distance, and Sam reacted just in time. Clash! Slash! Their weapons struck each other with a thunderous force that echoed through the entire sublayer. The shock wave spread outward. Even above them, in the forest of the surface first layer and the ruined halls of the novice ruins, awakeners paused and looked around, confused by the deep rumbling sound beneath their feet. Clash! Clash! Slash! Each swing shook the chamber. Sam's arms ached from the force of the Abyssal King's blows, but he refused to let up. Slash! He took a hit. Slash! And another. But even so, slash! He returned each strike with one of his own, breaking through the king's defense more and more with each clash. The flames are closing in. Finish the job. Sam quickly glanced left. The wall of purple flames, the same that had encircled the battlefield, was now closing in. It moved steadily unrelenting, and it was almost at his back. He didn't know how Eternal Barrier would hold up against that kind of pressure. Maybe each second inside those flames would count as a hit. Maybe it would burn right through his soul. It didn't matter. He couldn't let this fight drag on any longer. Slash! The king landed a strike across Sam's chest. Slash! Sam hit back, cutting deep into the king's ribs. And then he saw it. The cracks. Not in the armor, but in the king himself. His swings were getting faster, yes, but sloppier. His movements had a desperation to them. The calm, regal presence from before was fading, replaced by the frantic fury of someone who realized they were losing. Sam's eyes flared. He understood what this was. The king wasn't just angry. He was afraid. Afraid because Sam wouldn't die. Because he kept moving. Because he wouldn't stop. Slash! 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 Each swing from Sam, now, carried more than just strength. It carried his will. His determination. And it was breaking the Abyssal King down. "Why won't die?" the king roared. Slash! Your eternal barrier has been broken. But even as his last defense fell, Sam stood tall. The crimson light in his eyes intensified. "Kill him." He didn't even blink. "Because I don't want to," Sam said. And with one final move, he knocked the king's next blow aside and stepped forward. "Goodbye." Slash! With one powerful strike, Sam's sword cleaved clean through the king's neck. The head flew, black mist pouring from the body as the king collapsed. The purple flames surged forward for one final moment, then fizzled out into nothing. They were gone. Across the arena, Lily and Alicia stood in shock. Sweat rolled down their faces from the heat of the flames. When they saw Sam still standing, they both let out quiet sighs of relief. Sam turned, gazing down at the body of the fallen king. Hell mode analysis, 1 out of 6. Good job. He didn't pause. He slashed into the king's body and pulled out the core. As always, he placed it near the primordial sword and watched as the weapon absorbed it. Then his eyes turned to the 3 items left behind by the king's body. Abyssal Sword Spear. Rank, Legendary. Hell mode analysis. A weapon that can be used both as a sword and a spear. Abyssal King Armor. Rank, Legendary. Hell mode analysis. An armor capable of tanking many hits. Extremely durable. And the final item, it shimmered brighter than the rest, filled with power and presence. Abyssal Crown. Rank, Forsaken. Hell mode analysis. An item that proves someone has beaten the Abyssal King. Keep it as an artifact. It's the first of the 6. Sam placed the armor and weapon into his spatial inventory, deciding he'd sell them later. But the crown? He kept that. It felt important. He didn't know why yet, but something told him that collecting these forsaken artifacts would matter later. "You're so strong," Lily said as she and Alicia finally joined him, her eyes wide, full of admiration. "I think even a peak apprentice rank couldn't have killed that thing." Maybe she was right, but Sam didn't say anything back. For him, it wasn't about being stronger than others. It was about becoming what he had to become. And then they noticed the portal. It had appeared exactly where the Abyssal King's throne once stood. The way out. They completed the sublayer. Once they left this place, they will have officially completed their advancement task. But just as the 3 of them took a step toward the exit, ding! A global announcement rang out. Not just through the ruins, not just the layer, but across every layer and even the real world. Congratulations to Sam Walker for being the first human in history to complete the first layer and killing the layer boss, Abyssal King. Holy shit, Sam's eyes widened. Meanwhile, inside the Inferno Guild headquarters. "So you're telling me," the guild leader said slowly, seated behind his massive darkwood desk, "that a novice-rank kid had a barrier you couldn't break through?" His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. Oscar stood in front of him, eyes cast down, unable to meet the leader's gaze. "Why, yes," he muttered, his fists clenched tightly at his sides. It was already humiliating enough that their elite novice squad had been wiped out inside the corrupted rift. But worse than that, Oscar, an expert rank awakener, had failed to even scratch a novice. If that information got out, it'd destroy his reputation. The Inferno Guild couldn't afford to be seen as a group of frauds. They had to maintain their image, powerful, untouchable. But trust me, leader, Oscar added quickly, trying to recover. I can take care of him. I'll erase him clean and quiet. But before he could say anything else, boom, a violent eruption of fire exploded across the office, a spiral of flames surrounding the leader's chair. The temperature spiked in an instant. Why? The guild leader's voice turned sharp. Why you keep acting on your own? Oscar froze. You've already done enough damage. The leader continued, voice now calm again, but with an underlying tension that made Oscar's skin crawl. No more reckless moves. I understand, Oscar stuttered, sweat dripping down his temple. I'm sorry. It's fine. The flames died down in an instant. Just don't get in the way again. That awakener, what was his name? Sam Walker. Oscar replied immediately. But he's a nobody. I promise. The leader gave no further response. Oscar exhaled quietly, relieved that the conversation was shifting. But deep down, he burned with anger. He would find Sam Walker again. He'd make sure of it. No matter what it took, he would take revenge for the embarrassment. And then, ding, a system announcement flashed in front of both of them. Not just in the room, but everywhere. Congratulations to Sam Walker for being the first human in history to complete the first layer and killing the layer boss, Abyssal King. The leader leaned forward confused. That's what? Oscar's eyes widened. He froze. That name. That same damn name. He trembled in place, every ounce of his control barely keeping him from screaming in fury. Elsewhere, within the towering headquarters of the Union Guild, David, a group of awakeners gathered near the top floor, all pointing at the glowing panel now floating in the sky above the city. David Union stood in the center of the room, a calm smile forming on his face. Yes, he asked casually. What does that even mean? One member blurted out. How could someone clear the first layer? That was done decades ago. The others all murmured in confusion. They were right, this kind of announcement wasn't normal. System messages only ever appeared inside the Forsaken Realm. Never outside. Never like this. But here it was, an announcement shown across the world in real time. It wasn't just strange. It was impossible. And what made it worse? No one had ever heard of the so-called Abyssal King. None of it made sense. Yet David didn't look troubled. If anything, he looked entertained. It truly seems, he said softly, his grin widening, that something interesting is beginning. Back to the first layer. Sam walked through the portal in front of the Abyssal King's throne. Alicia and Lily followed behind, both still a little stunned by the announcement they'd seen. Sam's name on a world notification. It hadn't made sense to them either. They didn't ask him about it, though. They could see Sam didn't know what it meant any more than they did. Sam's name had just been revealed to millions of people, and the implications were clear. If Sam was the first person to clear the first layer, then that meant the entire layer that all of humanity had gone through before wasn't the real one. It was fake, or at the very least, much easier than what Sam had just conquered. They stepped through the final section of the portal, falling through the shimmering vortex. A moment later, all three of them landed on solid ground. The air was fresh. The trees swayed. They were back in the outside world. Sam glanced around and recognized the area. It was the same place where he'd summoned the portal that led to the true first layer. I guess that means we really cleared it, Lily exhaled, still stunned. That's unbelievable. Sam didn't even react to the hell mode analysis comment. He simply nodded. But that doesn't make sense, Alicia said, rubbing her temples. If this was the real first layer, then what was the one above for? Probably just to let people advance, Sam replied without much emotion. It's easier, safer. It lets them move forward without ever knowing. I guess so, Alicia said quietly. But this was insane, and that was the real issue. If this sublayer was actually the true first layer, then the second and third layers humanity had supposedly conquered were also just illusions. And that meant humanity's struggling with the fourth layer already, Lily muttered, her eyes wide. And now we're learning there's one even harder beneath it. Fuck, it sounded like a nightmare. A world flipped upside down. But for Sam, none of that mattered. Not the announcement, not the panic, not the confusion it might cause in the outside world. He didn't care what anyone thought. He only cared about getting stronger. And now that he'd seen what the real first layer looked like, he knew the path forward. "We'll be fine," he said with a smile, eyes glowing crimson again. "I just need to kill them all, that's all." The intensity of his aura, that quiet, creeping power flowing out of him, made both girls pause. But they didn't question it. They just followed. And then, ding, you have completed your apprentice rank advancement task. Conquer the first sublayer. Performance rating SSS. Sam's smile widened. That was what he'd been waiting for. A reward that matched the effort. And a moment later, congratulations to Sam Walker for advancing to apprentice rank. "Nice," he whispered, his voice steady. "I advanced to," Lily said proudly, "with an S rank rating." "Same," Alicia added with a grin. "Looks like we all did it." But Sam wasn't focused on the rankings. His eyes were fixed on the system panels, starting to appear one by one. "You will be granted several rewards for your performance. Primordial." Ding, ding, ding. Notifications chimed in rapid succession, forming a circle of glowing text around him. The first panel caught his attention. "Choose a car, Primordial." He tilted his head slightly. 3 cards appeared beside him, black and violet in color, just like last time. He could finally claim the skill he was meant to get at level 10 of novice rank. Now that he was officially apprentice rank, nothing was stopping him. He stepped closer and looked at the cards. Oh, 2 of them were familiar. The first had a skull etched onto it. The second had a symbol of dark flames. Both were cards he had seen back at level 5, but back then, he had picked the 3rd card, so these 2 remained unchosen. The final card was different this time. A swirling vortex-like shape etched in silver. Sam studied them for a long second. He was curious about the other 2. Really curious. But his gaze locked onto the second card, the one with the flames. "I'll see what the others do next time." He reached out and tapped the card. "You have selected your card." The other 2 instantly vanished, swallowed up in black fire. And then, the selected card flipped slowly to reveal the skill. Shadow Flames. Rank Common. Description: conjure dark flames that scorch everything in their path. They burn both the body and the will. Hell Mode Analysis. Burn them all. He grabbed the card and let it dissolve into his hand. Ding. Congratulations to Sam Walker for learning the skill. Shadow Flames Common. But Sam knew it wasn't the end, since he still had a few panels to check. After acquiring the skill Shadow Flames, Sam wasted no time and moved on to the next set of panels waiting for him. Ding! Due to your high performance rating in your advancement task, you have been granted an additional skill. Nice, Sam thought, a small grin forming as he straightened up. Ding! Congratulations to Sam Walker for learning the skill. Abyssal Step, Rare. Oh! He blinked in surprise for a moment, before inspecting the new skill. Abyssal Step. Rank Rare. Description: you can blend with the shadows to hide yourself from sight, while also dashing at extreme speeds. Hell Mode Analysis. Perfect for killing unnoticed, or just confusing the hell out of enemies. Sam immediately recognized the name. It was the exact skill the Abyssal King had used on him during their fight, blending into the darkness, striking from blind spots, then vanishing without warning. Now it was his. That explained why it had been added to his list. He'd earned it. Not bad at all, Sam said with a smirk. That ability had almost cost him the battle earlier, and now it was part of his own arsenal. The best part? It was only a rare skill, which meant with Primordial Evolution, he could evolve it into something much more powerful. He closed the panel and waited. Another notification appeared, but this one wasn't like the rest. It felt different. Ding! Congratulations, Primordial. There was no name following it this time. Since you have advanced to apprentice rank, you will be granted a new affinity. Sam's eyes widened slightly. So that's how it worked. At novice rank, he'd been given his shadow affinity. That alone had brought him a long way. But now, as an apprentice, he was getting another. His heart sped up as he stared at the screen. His crimson eyes flickered with anticipation. Based on the current path you are taking as a primordial, you have been granted the Chaos Affinity. Sam grinned, his hands tightening around the hilt of his sword. Chaos, huh? The moment the panel vanished, something strange happened. Instead of the glowing particles sinking into his body, they flew straight toward the primordial sword. The blade reacted instantly. A mouth opened near the core of the weapon, devouring the light in an instant. Then, as the light disappeared, the sword's edge glowed faintly golden, layered on top of its dark shimmer. A pulse of energy rippled outward. Sam opened his status window for the sword. Primordial sword. Current affinities, shadow, chaos. Description: a powerful weapon only usable by primordial. It draws strength from each affinity unlocked, growing stronger with its wielder. Ding! You have unlocked a new class skill thanks to your affinity, Chaotic Fate. So gaining affinities unlocks new class skills too. Huh. That made sense now. His power wasn't just growing, it was evolving layer by layer, affinity by affinity. Another panel appeared, and this one was bigger than the rest. Chaotic Fate. Description: chaos surrounds you, twisting fate based on the path you follow. There are 3 paths a primordial can take: Savior, Neutral, and Forsaken. Savior path. You are a beacon of hope for humanity. You fight to protect and save everyone, no matter the cost. Neutral path. You follow your own rules, sparing the worthy and striking down the corrupt. Balanced, calculated, and optimal. Forsaken path. The worst path of them all. You care only about power and killing, abandoning all morality. This path grants terrifying strength. Hell mode analysis. No comment. Do whatever you want. Whoa. Sam stared at the screen. The system had never gone into this much detail before. So the skill didn't just give him chaotic powers. It tracked how he behaved. Whether he helped others, stayed neutral, or became a monster. And depending on that, the skill would adapt. Different endings? Different powers? Possibly. Let's see where I stand, Sam said, voice calm. Very well. Ding. A swirl of red and violet aura spun around him, then condensed into another panel. You are on the neutral path. Sam nodded. That felt accurate. He wasn't out to save the world yet, but he wasn't murdering everything in sight either. He fought for himself, helped those who needed it, and killed when it was necessary. A path right in the middle. It felt right. With that done, Sam took a deep breath and opened his full status window just to see it all at once. Name: Sam Walker. Class: Primordial. Rank: Apprentice. Level 1. Strength: 14. Agility: 13. Constitution: 14. Soul: 26. Affinities: Shadow, Chaos. Class skills: Spatial Inventory, Primordial Evolution, Hell Mode Analysis, Chaotic Fate. Skills: Primordial Sword Technique, Forsaken. Abyssal Obliteration, Forsaken. Eternal Barrier, Forsaken. Tendrils of Oblivion, Forsaken. Shadow Flames, Common. Abyssal Step, Rare. No change in stats, as expected, but everything else was stacked. His arsenal of skills had grown immensely, and his affinities gave him even more flexibility. Since you have reached apprentice rank, you are no longer permitted to enter novice rifts or the first layer. Sam nodded. He already knew that. Lily and Alicia finished their advancements around the same time. Both girls had their own reward panels and skill upgrades. Once done, the 3 of them left the area together and headed toward the bullet train station. The ride back took them straight to the inner ring, right where they'd been before venturing into the outside world. I'm going to tell Dad what happened, Alicia said with a huge grin. And train, obviously. I need to prepare for the second layer now. I've got my own things to take care of, Lily added, smiling brightly. Catch you later, Sam. Before leaving, Lily added Sam to her contacts with a quick swipe of her finger. Then the 2 girls each went their own way, leaving Sam standing alone at the station. He exhaled and glanced upward. The sky was calm. Nobody here had any idea that the boy standing in front of them was the same Sam Walker from the world announcement. His name had been plastered across the sky, but no one had connected the dots. Not yet. People would figure out soon enough. They'd come asking questions. They want to know what the system meant, what completing the first layer really meant. But for now, Sam was just another face in the crowd. A small chuckle escaped him. "It's finally time," he muttered to himself, a bit too loudly. People turned toward him in confusion, wondering who he was or what he was laughing about. He ignored them all. He had something else to do. Now, it was time for the next phase of his plan. Time to head back to the Awakener Association. After all, it was only there that he could create his guild. Sam stepped into the Awakener Association with a calm, unreadable look on his face. His footsteps echoed lightly against the polished floor as he scanned the large lobby. This was it, the moment he'd been working towards since entering the first layer. The true beginning of his journey. He was finally ready to create his guild. Though confident, he had to admit he didn't know exactly how the process worked. Up until now, he'd focused solely on reaching apprentice rank, knowing that this milestone was required to start a guild of his own. Everything beyond that, he was figuring out as he went. Spotting the front counter, Sam approached the nearest available receptionist. This time, it wasn't the same one he'd spoken to before. A different woman greeted him, her posture perfect and her smile practiced. "Hello, sir," she said politely. "What may I help you with today?" "I want to create a guild," Sam replied, skipping any pleasantries. The receptionist blinked once, clearly not expecting that answer so bluntly. "Oh, I see." Her smile wavered for a moment, but she quickly composed herself. "In that case, please follow the hallway marked Guild. You'll find everything you need from there." Sam looked in the direction she pointed and noticed the hallway almost immediately. Above it, a glowing inscription, Guild. "Thanks," he said, then turned without another word and made his way there. Once the guild existed, any achievement he earned would carry the name forward, growing its reputation naturally. After following the corridor for a short while, Sam reached the end and arrived at a much larger chamber. It looked like a waiting area at first, with a few people standing around, though far fewer than he had expected. A staff member wearing the association's insignia noticed his arrival and stepped forward. "Are you here to create a guild?" the man asked calmly. "Yes. In that case, you'll want to use one of the guild creation rooms." The man gestured to a set of doors at the back. They're linked directly to the system. Everything inside is private. Only you will see the panels and information. You can make changes or decisions at your own pace, and the association won't review the guild until you ask for it. "Private?" Sam tilted his head slightly. The staff nodded. "Correct. The name, status, members, none of that is visible to us until you register it." That made sense. Sam gave a small nod of understanding and watched as the man turned to assist someone else. He made his way toward the back and looked around until he found a door labeled Guild Creation that wasn't currently in use. The area was surprisingly empty. As expected, not many awakened dared to try forming a guild of their own. Most lacked the power, while others lacked the will. Sam opened the door and stepped inside. It shut behind him with a quiet hiss, and he was left standing alone in a silent room, empty save for a faint glow pulsing through the walls. "Ding! Do you wish to create a guild?" A floating panel appeared in front of him. Sam didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Very well. Name, Sam Walker. Class, Primordial SSS rank. Rank, Apprentice. All conditions have been met. You are eligible to create a guild." The process, as he guessed, was simple. So long as he had the strength and had reached apprentice rank, he didn't need to pay or fill out paperwork. No tests, no trials. Even if Sam was alone, he could still form a guild. Recruitment wasn't required, and he could build everything from scratch. "Ding! What do you wish your guild's name to be? Please choose carefully. This cannot be changed." This was his one and only opportunity to choose a name for his guild, because afterward everybody else would know it as this name. Sam paused, tapping a finger to his chin as he mulled it over. He truly was wondering what he should be calling the guild that would start his real journey in this world. There's a lot of options, he murmured to himself. But before he could settle on anything, another panel appeared without warning. "Are you sure you want Primordial to be the name of your guild?" Sam blinked. "I didn't even say anything." "Ding. Confirmed. Congratulations to Sam Walker for creating the Primordial Guild." Sam stared at the panel for a few seconds, then returned to his neutral expression as he understood exactly what was happening. Okay. He actually liked the name, It fit perfectly. He hadn't said it out loud because he'd assumed it was already taken. But apparently, it wasn't. Thank me later. Sam smirked. Noted. You may now leave the guild creation room and continue your journey. Primordial. Sam stared at the panel for a few seconds, his crimson eyes flaring at the word primordial, but he quickly turned and left as the door opened. Once he returned to the main room, he opened his status screen to confirm the change. Sure enough, a new line had been added right between his class and rank. Guild, Primordial Leader. He tapped on it, and a new window expanded. Primordial Guild. Position, Leader. Members, 1. Status, Unregistered. Hell Mode Analysis. A one-man guild in the making. Sam couldn't help but smile at the last line. He knew the Hell Mode Analysis was mocking him a little, but it wasn't wrong. Right now, he was the only member. He wasn't interested in gathering dozens of random people. In truth, the only ones he might even consider adding were the heroines or some powerful awakeners, and right now, only Lily and Alicia were familiar enough with him. But both of them were busy with their own goals. So, for now, Sam would go it alone. Still, it was time to register the guild officially. He walked toward the guild registration area and approached another receptionist. This one was different from earlier, a tall woman with a kind face and sharp eyes. Good afternoon, she said. How may we assist you today? I created a guild. I want to register it under the association. There are only benefits to doing this. Once registered, his guild's achievements will be tracked. He would also appear in the guild ranking, in addition to receiving information about events. As a primordial, having access to that information was priceless. Understood, the receptionist nodded. May I have your name and the name of the guild you created? Sam hesitated for just a second, but proceed. He nodded again, gaining confidence. Sam Walker, Primordial Guild. The moment he said his name, the receptionist froze. Her eyes darted to her screen, checking the confirmation data. Her face paled slightly. Oh, as if she caught herself and swallowed, visibly flustered. Very well, sir. She didn't say anything else, simply typed in the information while trying not to panic. Her hands were shaking slightly. Clearly, she recognized the name, but she couldn't say anything. Not here, not publicly. The association had strict rules. A minute later, she looked up and forced a smile. It's done, she said, her voice a little shaky. Why your guild has been registered. Best of luck to the Primordial Guild. We hope to see you rise in the rankings. Thanks, Sam replied with a smile, standing from his seat and walking away. Ding! Your guild, Primordial, has officially been registered with the Awakener Association. It is now recognized as a fully fledged guild. This was it. Everything so far had led to this moment. Now that his guild was real and his name had been seen by the world, he knew the real challenge was only beginning. But he didn't feel pressure, only excitement. He would do everything in his power to grow stronger and push his reputation up. After finishing the registration of his guild with the Awakener Association, Sam left the office and returned to the main lobby. The bright fluorescent lights and the steady hum of conversation surrounded him, but he felt detached. His mind was focused on the next task. He approached the reception desk once more, looking for guidance on where he could sell the growing collection of items he had acquired. He was guided to the room from before, and the same man who had appraised his items before looked up. Back so soon? The man asked with a friendly nod. Sam simply nodded and pulled out the large pile of weapons and gear from his spatial inventory. Undead's weapons, Bones, the Reaper's Scythe, the Archmage Staff, Art of Necromancy, Abyssal Swords, Abyssal Spear, Abyssal Sword Spear, and Abyssal King Armor. All these items which he acquired from the Corrupted Rift and the first sublayer. The man's eyes flicked over each item carefully. He was no stranger to the undead materials. They were rather common as more awakeners. But the moment his gaze landed on the Abyssal Sword Spear and the Abyssal King Armor, confusion flashed across his face. This, he murmured, almost to himself. It's the first time I've seen these items. More than that, he noticed the words Abyssal King, the same name from the announcement. He looked up at Sam directly, a bit startled by the faint crimson aura flaring from Sam's eyes. These are good items, the man said with a professional smile, masking his surprise. We can offer you $56,930 for everything. Sam's grin widened. That was a substantial amount of money, more than enough to secure himself for a long time. He finally understood why some people prefer to stay at novice rank. It was safer, had a steady income, and no need to risk their lives. Being an awakener was already dangerous enough, as is, but it was a career full of opportunities. Pleasure doing business with you, the man said as he took Sam's awakener card to complete the transfer. But the moment he saw the name, his expression shifted. Sam Walker. Yes, Sam said calmly. We've met before. The man's eyes flickered nervously. Even though he was an adept rank, Sam's presence felt overwhelming, an undeniable force. Yet, the man maintained his professionalism. Very well, he said quietly, returning the card. Sam left without a word. The Awakener Association didn't have much information about Sam, but they knew he was active, and that was enough for them. Outside, stepping onto the crowded streets, Sam overheard whispers and rumors. Did you hear? Guilds are sending their top novice rank parties into the first layer to investigate that announcement. I saw it on the news. It's madness. The first layer is flooded with novices now. Sam's lips curled slightly. The announcement had stirred a frenzy, turning what was once considered the tutorial layer into a hunt. What a waste of time. None of those novice parties would stand a chance. Sam nodded, but he knew better than to say anything or reveal what he truly knew to anybody. That would be foolish. Instead, he quietly turned and made his way back to his cheap hotel room. He needed rest, but first there was work to do. I'll let my new skills evolve, he thought, then I'll head to the second layer. Growing stronger was the only thing that mattered now. The big events were probably fast approaching, and he had to be ready. Though he was now an apprentice rank awakener, capable of defeating a high-level 10 apprentice, there were still countless dangers lurking. Besides, his guild had 0 achievements. Without achievements, it would remain unnoticed. Climbing the rankings and gathering information were crucial. And to do that, he had to clear the second layer. Once inside his room, Sam summoned his skill panel. A window appeared before him, displaying all of his skills. Skills: Primordial Sword Technique, Forsaken. Abyssal Obliteration, Forsaken. Eternal Barrier, Forsaken. Tendrils of Oblivion, Forsaken. Shadow Flames, Common. Abyssal Step, Rare. His eyes settled on Shadow Flames. Then he focused on Primordial Evolution, and a ripple of dark energy pulsed from his core, spreading across his body and flowing into the skill panel. Ding! Shadow Flames, Common. Has evolved into Umbral Embers, Uncommon. Sam smiled. Not bad, he muttered. Below the panel, a timer ticked down. Primordial Evolution. Next use. 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. He had to wait. Based on the current time and skill ranks, it would take 7 days to evolve all his skills to Forsaken rank. For now, there was nothing else to do. Sam prepared to rest, but before sleep could claim him, his phone buzzed. A message from David Union appeared. Many guilds are sending expeditions to find the real first layer. Be careful. Sam glanced at the message, but didn't respond immediately. He already knew what was happening. Thanks. It's in the ruins. He typed back simply, then put his phone down and finally closed his eyes. Surprisingly, the week passed quickly. Sam kept to himself, sparing only brief exchanges with Lily and Alicia via messages. They shared updates on minor happenings, but nothing urgent. By the end of the 7 days, Sam's skills had evolved fully again. Umbral Embers, Uncommon. Wraithfire, Rare. Hollow Blaze, Epic. Ashen Requiem, Legendary. Sovereign Inferno, Forsaken. The name alone sounded devastatingly powerful. But Sam hesitated to try it out in his cramped hotel room, worried about accidentally burning everything down. He also evolved the skill he received as a bonus. Abyssal Step, Rare. Phantom Stride, Epic. Eclipse Shift, Legendary. Void Rush, Forsaken. During the week, Sam also took time to shop for new clothes. But oddly, every time he examined a piece of armor, a single panel appeared beneath it. Hell Mode Analysis. Useless. It was as if armor was useless to him. But that was fine. He relied on his Eternal Barrier for protection, and that was more than enough. Meanwhile, News of a newly discovered sublayer spread like wildfire. Though no one had cleared it, warnings were everywhere. Do not attempt to find or beat the sublayer. The difficulty was far too high for novices. But this only fueled curiosity about Sam Walker. Who was this person that had already cleared it? Sam took a deep breath and smiled. 2 messages popped up on his phone. Lily Grimoire. Alicia and I will be heading to the second layer soon, but we have some things to take care of first. Alicia Union. Yeah, I need to handle some responsibilities and make sure I'm strong enough. Neither of them was available, but that didn't bother Sam. He'd enter the second layer alone. If he recalled correctly, Alicia had said each layer had a name. The first was the tutorial layer. The second was called the ruined layer. After a quick meal at a nearby restaurant, Sam boarded a bullet train heading to the outer ring. From there, he would enter the next challenge. But as the train sped forward, Sam gazed out the window, and a familiar crimson panel appeared before him. You have a very bad feeling about this. I expected that, Sam said with a small smile. But I still need to clear this layer and grow stronger. We have arrived at the outer ring. Please depart. The mechanical voice echoed throughout the train as it slowed to a stop. Sam stepped off calmly, his expression unreadable as always. He didn't waste time looking around or soaking in the view. The moment his feet touched solid ground, Sam closed his eyes. He reached inward, focusing on the energy of the Forsaken Realm, the unnatural force that connected him to the layers. He thought clearly and firmly about his destination. The second layer. Ding! A panel appeared right away. Which layer do you wish to enter? Second. Sam raised his hand and reached out toward the glowing option, but just as his fingers got close, the bad feeling from earlier hit him even harder. A chill climbed up his spine, not fear but instinct. Something was wrong with this layer, something that didn't want him there. Still, he wasn't going to hesitate. Proceed. The moment he clicked it, the panel changed again. Very well, Primordial. Fwish! Bang! The space around him exploded with energy as a violent burst of aura wrapped around his body, swirling like a small cyclone before settling into a tight spiral that formed a portal in front of him. Sam opened his eyes and stared at it. Unlike the blue portals of the first layer, this one was gray, cold, and colorless. So the portals change color depending on the layer, he noted. It didn't seem too important at first glance, but he liked paying attention to small details. Sometimes they mattered. But just as he took a step forward toward the gray portal, fwish, fwish, boom, the portal pulsed violently, shaking as if it were being torn apart. Darkness mixed into the gray, and the surface of the portal began glitching, twisting unnaturally like a corrupted signal, with streaks of black and violet running across it. A new panel appeared. Hell Mode Analysis. The second layer this portal leads to has become corrupted. All monsters will be level 20 and appear in more powerful forms. Sam stared at it for a moment, blinking once. Wow, who could have possibly seen that coming? He muttered sarcastically, rolling his eyes. He didn't even flinch anymore. Whether it was the world trying to crush him, or his own presence as a primordial warping reality around him, he couldn't tell. But either way, chaos always followed. And every time he stepped forward, something tried to twist the game. This new twist, though corrupted layer portals, was going to stir even more panic when the news spread. Only recently did people discover that rifts were known to become corrupted after all. This would change everything. Sam glanced around, and, sure enough, he wasn't alone. Others had arrived, and they were just as confused as he expected. Hey, why does my portal look weird? I'm not going through that thing. Are you crazy? Too many freak incidents lately. So it wasn't just his portal. They were all corrupted. Hell Mode Analysis. All portals currently lead to a shared corrupted instance. Proceed with caution. Sam gave a light nod. That meant every awakener stepping into the second layer was going to end up in the same space as him. That could be useful or a problem. But he wasn't about to back away now. In fact, stronger monsters meant more experience, and that was something he wanted. His crimson eyes glowed faintly. Here goes nothing. Without waiting another second, Sam stepped into the glitching, unstable portal. And just like that, it vanished behind him. The moment he entered, he felt it stronger than the first layer. The pull, the warping sensation, like being twisted through space at high speed. But he didn't resist it. Proceed as always. Eliminate them all. Fwish. Bam. He landed on solid ground again, his shoes hitting dust and cracked concrete as his vision stabilized. A panel floated up in front of him. You have entered the second layer of the Forsaken Realm, the ruined city, corrupted. You are currently in the outskirts. Good luck, Primordial. Now he understood why this layer was known as the Ruined Layer. It wasn't just a name, it was a setting. Sam scanned his surroundings. Ruined buildings, collapsed roads, overturned cars. This was once a city. A modern one. But now, all that remained were twisted metal, shattered stone, and the silence of abandonment. A light breeze carried the scent of dust, rust, and decay. Sam narrowed his eyes. This layer was massive, way larger than the first. And if the second sublayer was hidden somewhere in here, it wasn't going to be easy to find. It could be anywhere, he thought to himself. He frowned. The first layer was contained, small enough to search in time. But this? It would weeks. We will find it. Do not worry. Sam nodded lightly and pulled out his primordial sword from his spatial inventory. The hilt hummed softly in his hand, pulsing with both shadow and chaos energy. I hope you're right, he muttered. He stepped forward, moving through the shattered outskirts. The silence was heavy, no animals, no ambient sound. Just his own footsteps and the occasional creaking of broken walls. Until suddenly, fwish, a sound behind him. Sam reacted immediately, sidestepping just as a sharp slash came flying through the air. Slash! He spun around to face his attackers. A formation of humanoid monsters was moving toward him, weapons raised. They moved together, perfectly in sync. Cracked sentinels, corrupted. Level 20. Description: protectors of the outskirts of the ruined city, tasked to eliminate all intruders, aka humans. They operate in squads. Hell mode analysis: they won't be protecting anything for much longer, smiley face. Each one wore gleaming silver armor, though it was cracked and stained, and emotionless masks over their faces. Sam could feel it. They weren't alive. They were vessels of something darker. Another strike came, but he leapt back, grinning. All right then, he said softly, let's try this out. He raised his hand, ready to use one of his newly acquired skills for the first time. Sovereign Inferno. A pulse of black fire erupted from him. The air warped with the sheer heat. Then came the flame, surging forward like a wall of molten death, expanding in a wave across the battlefield. The cracked sentinels didn't even have time to regroup. Their armor superheated instantly, cracking apart as the fire slipped through the gaps and melted what lay beneath. One by one, they fell, weapons clattering to the ground, bodies burned to ash. When the flames died out, only charred fragments and scorched pavement remained. Sam stood at the center of the destruction, the sword in his hand pulsing with power. Incredible, he whispered. He had seen fire skills in games before, but this was something else. This was a chaos-fueled flame. With a skill like that, he could have probably joined the Inferno Guild as one of their top newbies. Your mastery of this skill is lacking. Sam raised an eyebrow. It was true. Just because he had a Forsaken rank skill didn't mean he could use it perfectly immediately. Power was one thing, control was another. He needed to train it, polish it, and understand the skill's full range before it reached its peak. Still, results didn't lie. He'd taken out 7 level 20 enemies, and he was still just level 1 in the apprentice rank. He wasn't even breaking a sweat. He stepped forward, raised his sword, which absorbed the dark energy cores they left behind. The energy pulsed through the blade. It wasn't enough to level up, but it was progress. Slow and steady. The second layer was vast, dozens of times bigger than the first. And that meant there were still countless enemies ahead. Sam glanced down the ruined road, past the burned-out buildings and collapsed streets. He could feel the tension rising already. Ding! Congratulations to Sam Walker for leveling up to level 2 of the apprentice rank. It took another dozen monsters or so, but eventually Sam reached the next level. Just like in the first layer, none of the monsters even came close to threatening him. They charged at him in groups, some with weapons, others with claws and corrupted magic, but it didn't matter. They fell just the same. A single swing from his primordial sword would cleave through them. If he didn't want to get close, his sovereign inferno would reduce entire squads to ash, and abyssal obliteration would erase whatever was left standing. They were stronger than the enemies from the first layer, sure. They were faster, more coordinated, and all level 20 thanks to the corruption. But they still didn't stand a chance. Sam kept moving, calm and unbothered. Am I too strong for this? He wondered, though there wasn't any real concern in the thought. Maybe, but that's probably a good thing. He knew better than to get cocky, though. The memory of the Abyssal King still lingered in the back of his mind. Even with all his power, he'd nearly died inside the first sublayer. That was a harsh reminder. It didn't matter how strong he was. Some enemies would always be capable of killing him if he wasn't careful. Especially bosses. Especially layer bosses. And he was sure this layer had one too. He wasn't going to let his guard down. As he walked down another cracked, empty street, he muttered to himself, Lily and Alicia mentioned each layer has its own mechanic. So what's this one? He hadn't noticed anything unusual so far. The environment was different, yes, larger, more spread out, filled with different monster types, but nothing that screamed mechanic just yet. The first layer didn't really have one either. Some people considered the tutorial-like nature of the first layer as its defining feature, helping new awakeners adjust to their classes and powers. But this layer felt different. Too quiet. Look up. A system message appeared in front of him. Sam blinked and followed the instruction. He tilted his head back, and his eyes widened. The sky was bright, sure, but it wasn't the normal blue or even gray tone he expected. No, it was crimson. Deep red clouds drifted slowly above him, casting an eerie hue over the ruined city. And in the center of it all was the sun. But it wasn't golden. It wasn't even orange. It was black. A massive, pitch-black sphere hovered in the sky, pulsing with waves of strange energy. It looked closer than any sun had any right to be, and somehow it radiated darkness instead of light. Black sun corrupted. Description: it corrupts all life touched by its rays. Remaining exposed for too long will lead to irreversible transformation. F. Hell mode analysis. This is the mechanic of the second floor. Its effects begin in the next area. Sam exhaled slowly. Well, that answers that. So the mechanic was there after all. He just hadn't walked far enough to trigger it. He probably could have learned all of this ahead of time if he'd done some research or spoiled himself about the second layer, or the third and fourth, maybe even beyond. But he didn't really care. Fwish! Slash! Another group of corrupted sentinels leapt out at him from side street, but Sam cut through them with ease. He didn't slow down. He met no humans while passing through the outskirts. Only monsters. All of them tried to kill him. All of them failed. Eventually, a thick curtain of dark mist appeared ahead of him, stretching across the road. Sam recognized it instantly. A boss fight. A system message greeted him again. Be careful. He nodded once and stepped through the mist. The world on the other side opened up into a wide, open square. Cracked tiles lined the ground. Buildings towered on every side, hollow and broken. And in the center stood the boss. Sentinel General, corrupted. Level 20. Description: the leader of the cracked sentinels and the strongest among them. Hell mode analysis. The rays of the black sun empower its body. The general's armor was brighter than the others, more polished, and its black energy was stronger. Its helmet had a crown-like crest, and its sword was easily twice the size of its soldiers. It raised the weapon and pointed it at Sam. You shall perish. Sam raised an eyebrow. That's the second monster I've heard talk, he said with amusement. Will there be more of them later? Or maybe from the other races connected to the realm? He wasn't really expecting an answer. The Forsaken Realm was more than just Earth. Other worlds had connections to it. And only after reaching the universal stage would everything be fully revealed. Earth wasn't there yet. Not even close. Even the top guilds couldn't get past the fourth layer. Sam made a mental note to ask David later why that was the case. But for now, he had a boss to kill. You cannot defeat the sun. The Sentinel General growled as it stepped forward. Sam didn't respond. Instead, he raised his sword and activated Tendrils of Oblivion. Dark tendrils surged from his blade, whipping through the air and racing toward the boss. The general swung its sword in defiance, trying to slice through them, but it wasn't enough. The tendrils wrapped tightly around its body, locking it in place. And then, one clean slash. Sam stepped forward and cut through the boss with a single strike. The Sentinel General didn't even scream. It collapsed in a heap of black armor and shattered energy, dead in seconds. A corrupted level 20 boss that would normally require an entire team had been defeated by one man in less than 5 seconds. Sam didn't even look surprised. He reached down, grabbed the loot, tossed it into his spatial inventory, and absorbed the boss's core into the Primordial sword. The mist behind him vanished, and he stepped forward. The next area looked different, a more urban district. Rows of collapsed apartment buildings, cars rusted and flipped on their sides, debris scattered across the streets. It looked like people had once lived here, but now it was silent. Just as he entered the zone, a new notification appeared, and a dark panel pulsed in front of him. You feel the power of the black sun on your back. Sam looked up again. The black sun's rays were brighter now, casting long shadows down the ruined streets. He took a step forward, and the moment he did, the black sun despises your presence and unleashes its corruption. Fwish! Boom! A thick beam of black light rained down on Sam's body. Most awakeners wouldn't have been corrupted and turned into twisted beasts. But Sam didn't even flinch. But nothing happened. Hell mode analysis. It cannot affect us. Primordial. Keep going. He grinned. The sun's power couldn't touch him. Maybe it was his class. Or maybe his existence as a primordial placed him outside the system's normal influence. Whatever the reason, he was immune. Most people would slowly lose themselves the longer they were exposed to those rays. Their minds would warp, their thoughts would twist, and eventually they'd become monsters themselves. But Sam stood tall, untouched, unmoved. He kept walking forward, his crimson eyes glowing brighter with each step. If even the layer's main mechanic couldn't do anything to him, then his confidence only grew. The main area of the ruined city was massive, far larger than the outskirts. Buildings loomed on every side, broken and jagged, streets stretched endlessly, some completely destroyed, others littered with the remains of old lives. The deeper Sam went, the more he realized just how sprawling this corrupted second layer really was. Still, the black sun's rays didn't touch him. Whatever force had tried to corrupt him before, it had failed. And now, even as the sun hovered higher in the crimson sky, pulsing with that same dark energy, Sam walked beneath it unbothered. But while the sun couldn't corrupt him, it was clear that it still hated him for some reason. That much was obvious. What do we even do to these monsters? Sam thought to himself. The Abyssal King. Then now this thing. Seeing that, Sam understood that there was truly something going on. It was the first time Hell Mode Analysis replied with such a panel. His confidence was high, but that didn't mean he got careless. He kept his focus sharp. It didn't take long before he noticed the shift in the monsters as well. Even though they were still level 20 like the ones in the outskirts, the creatures here hit harder. A few had even managed to strike his eternal barrier, which hadn't happened once in the first zone. He still killed them all. That much hadn't changed, but the way they came at him, in waves from alleys, from beneath broken cars, from the tops of shattered rooftops, it was relentless. It wasn't just the natural hostility of corrupted monsters. They were being sent after him. The Black Sun summons more entities in hopes of eliminating you. Sam narrowed his eyes, feeling the hatred radiating from above like a constant pressure on his back. The Black Sun loomed in the sky, as if watching his every step. We'll kill it eventually. Just proceed. Sam paused at that. Kill the sun, he blinked. That sounded crazy. Still, he shrugged the thought away and moved forward. Slash, slash, slash. He kept carving through anything that got in his way. From the weeping shadows that floated like spirits through alleyways, to the hollow hounds that hunted in packs, to the swarms of demonic rats that crawled out, none survived. Anything that got too close was erased before it had a chance to fight back. Ding! Congratulations to Sam Walker for leveling up to level 3 of the apprentice rank. Ding! Congratulations to Sam Walker for leveling up to level 4 of the apprentice rank. His power kept growing. Every kill made him stronger, and the feeling of progress came quickly. He took a quick glance at the barrier, still shielding him. Eternal Barrier, 41/50ths. Even though nothing had gotten past it yet, the long-range attacks were annoying. Sometimes even debris or a weak projectile would count as a hit and chip away at the shield. And in this dense, sprawling city, with so many enemies hidden behind every corner, the hits came often. Luckily, the Eternal Barrier refreshed every 30 minutes. But if he was surrounded on all sides by hundreds of monsters, that would be a different story. For now, though, things were under control. Sam moved with confidence, killing as he went, his crimson eyes always alert. With each level up, his senses sharpened. The fact that he was reaching level 4 so fast, something that would take most Awakeners weeks, was a clear sign. The corruption might have made this layer harder. But for Sam, it was a blessing. While he moved through the ruins, cutting down enemies, he kept his eye out for one thing: the second sublayer. He had no idea what it looked like, no idea where it might be hidden, but eventually, he found the entrance to the zone's boss. Sam's expression lit up with a grin. He glanced upward toward the hateful black sun overhead and raised a hand in mock gratitude. "Thank for the free experience," he laughed. "And even better, you can't even touch me." He felt unstoppable. The power, the immunity to corruption, the ease with which he destroyed everything. It all felt like the world was finally going his way. But just as those words left his mouth, a new panel appeared before him, this one in crimson. "You have the feeling you shouldn't have said that." Huh? He didn't even finish his thought. Fwish! Boom! A powerful wave of dark energy exploded outward, spreading from the black sun above and washing across the entire layer in an instant. The shock wave shook the very buildings around him. Dust flew up from the ground, and the sky seemed to shimmer as the sun pulsed violently. What the fuck? Sam looked up and froze. The black sun, which until now had been a pulsing, flaming orb of darkness, had changed. It had an eye now, a massive, glowing eye, opened in the center of the sun, staring directly at him, a gaze that seemed to pierce through his soul. He took a step back, slowly, eyes still locked on the sky. "Hell mode analysis," he muttered. "Any clue what's happening now? You angered the black sun, I guess, though it's never reacted like this before." Sam drew his sword and lowered his stance. Whatever was coming, he had no idea what to expect. But fear never came. He couldn't feel it, not as a primordial. All he could do was prepare and wait. Meanwhile, not far from Sam's location, "Be careful of the sun's rays," a girl's voice rang out. A mass of vines erupted from her outstretched arms, slamming into a corrupted beast and pinning it to a crumbling wall. "We know already," a young man shouted from behind cover. "But these monsters are relentless. Why are they this strong?" "Corruption," another replied. "But keep pushing. We've come too far to turn back now." Sam wasn't alone in the lair. Obviously, a good amount of people had entered it, like this group of 15 Awakeners. Most hadn't dared. Many saw the twisted portals and turned back. But this group pressed on. They were from the Viper Guild, one of the stronger rising guilds in the North region. And leading them was a girl with emerald green hair tied into a long ponytail, Chloe Vinelord. Her uniform was already torn in a few places from the earlier fights, but her stance never wavered. She stood tall, wielding her SS rank skill, Plant Master, with precision and grace, thorns and vines dancing around her like a living shield. "Thank God the boss of the outskirts was already dead when we got there," one of her teammates said. "We would have lost half the squad." They'd arrived about 10 minutes after Sam had cleared the first boss, meaning they could move into the next zone without the fight. One of the apprentice-ranked members ran up to her. "Chloe, this is bad. We need to inform the association. This place is off the charts." "Yeah," someone else muttered. "What the hell is happening to the world lately?" Chloe narrowed her eyes, not letting the doubt creep in. "Don't back down," she shouted. voice ringing across the street. We clear this layer. No matter what. She didn't know about Sam. None of them did. But they shared this corrupted space with him. But the moment they were about to advance. Ding! The Primordial has angered the Black Sunday. Brace yourselves. Wait, what? Did that say Primordial? What the hell is a Primord? Fwish! Boom! The same shockwave as before erupted around the layer. Buildings shivered. Light bent. The sun, no longer just a sun, glared down with its massive eye. And that energy slammed into everything, including the humans. Chloe reacted fast. She closed her eyes instinctively, but forced them back open. Don't panic, keep it together, she yelled. But when she looked around, her breath caught in her throat. All the teammates who had been standing beside her, fighting with her, were gone, replaced by something else. Their armor, their clothes, even their weapons, they were all intact. But their bodies had changed. Their skin was pale, grayish, and split with jagged black veins that pulsed with faint red light. Their eyes glowed with the same corrupted darkness as the black sun itself. Corrupted corpses. Level. Description: a human who has been consumed by the black sun's corruption. No, Chloe's voice cracked. No. But the corruption had already taken full hold. Their gazes locked onto her, and as one, their eyes flared brighter, and they lunged. Chloe had no time to mourn, no time to hesitate, just barely enough time to fight. After just a few minutes of intense combat, Chloe stood alone amidst the scorched, broken bodies of the corrupted corpses that had once been her teammates. Her breathing was ragged, her heart pounding inside her chest. Vines retracted slowly from the corpses, blood still dripping from their thorn-covered edges. She didn't say a word. She just stared at their lifeless, twisted forms for a long moment, then closed her eyes and let out a shaky breath. I need to keep going. The black sun, unleashing something like that. It had never been reported before. Never. Not in the logs, not in the forums, not in the Awakener's testimonies, nowhere. And the fact that all her companions, every last one, had been instantly transformed despite their preparations and defensive skills meant one thing. Something had gone horribly, terribly wrong in this layer. Chloe didn't know why she was spared. That same wave of corruption had struck her too. She had braced herself for the worst, for madness or transformation. But nothing happened. Why? She had no answer. But this wasn't the time to hesitate. She steadied her breath and kept moving forward. After combat, teleportation is blocked, she reminded herself. There's no going back. The only path is forward. Her vines hovered protectively around her as she sprinted deeper into the crumbling city. Back to Sam. He hadn't moved yet. He was still standing in the street right before the boss, one hand gripping his sword, the other resting at his side as he stared up at the black sun. Its giant eye glared down at him, unmoving, unblinking. Sam narrowed his eyes. 1 minute passed, then another. That's it, he asked, blinking once. Lame. He lowered his stance and let out a disappointed breath. The way that I stared at him made it seem like some major event was about to happen, like the world was preparing to collapse around him. And yet, nothing happened. Just that one dark shockwave earlier. It was underwhelming. You sensed that something happened in the distance. Sam raised an eyebrow, glancing toward the streets ahead. Well, whatever it was, it didn't reach me. So who cares? Still, a tinge of caution flared in the back of his mind. The sun may not have harmed him directly, but that didn't mean it hadn't done something elsewhere. It was still watching, still seething. It could have changed the monsters. Or maybe the next boss, he thought, slowly advancing. Better stay sharp. And then Sam stepped through the mist, leading to the boss. On the other side, a vast open plaza waited, and in the center of it stood a tall, twisted humanoid figure draped in cracked stone armor and wielding a hammer made from the debris of the ruined buildings. Fallen architect, corrupted. Level 20. Hell mode analysis. It doesn't matter. Sam didn't wait. The moment he laid eyes on the boss, he lunged forward. He raised his primordial sword and cleaved through the boss's neck in an instant. The creature's head dropped to the ground with a thud in under 3 seconds. New record. Yahoo! Nice, Sam muttered, a grin curling on his lips. He turned his gaze back up toward the sky, meeting the giant eye of the black sun. Its pupil was twitching now, quivering in what looked like helpless fury. He absorbed the fallen boss's core without a second thought, then turned toward the exit. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the zone, Chloe was still pushing forward. She dashed through abandoned streets and broken alleyways, slicing through scattered, corrupted monsters as they appeared. Her vines did most of the work, piercing and binding targets as she sprinted forward. But along the way, she saw the signs, more decayed corpses. They still wore the gear of other Awakeners, still held the same weapons, but their skin was cracked and black-veined, their eyes lifeless and red. All of them had once been human. That shockwave transformed everyone in the lair, she thought while rising in her throat. All of them. It was horrifying. What was supposed to be a calculated raid with her team had turned into a massacre. But just when she thought she couldn't take another step, she saw it. The gray mist. The gate to the zone's boss. She stopped in place, heart hammering in her chest. She looked around. No one else. No one's here. I'm really alone. Her arms trembled slightly. She was only level 8. She had talent, yes, but this wasn't supposed to happen. Her parents were powerful Awakeners, leaders in the Viper Guild. They trusted her with a squad of hand-picked apprentices to earn merit in the field. But now they were all dead, and she was staring down a boss area. She felt the tears start to rise, the panic beginning to build, but then, whoosh, the mist in front of her began to dissipate. What? Her eyes widened. Someone was inside? She sprinted toward the clearing, vines still swirling around her for defense, and stepped into the wide-open city square beyond the mist. There, in the middle of the plaza, was a man. He had black hair, sharp features, and wore dark, clean clothing. A shimmering blade hung from his hand, still glowing faintly from battle. Then he turned around, and his crimson eyes met hers. A shiver ran through Chloe's body. That gaze, it wasn't normal. It didn't feel human. The pressure that bled from those eyes reminded her of the black sun. Itself. No, it was worse. Sam noticed her the moment she entered. Oh, he blinked. So I'm not the only one left after all. Chloe Vineford. Rank, apprentice. Level, 8. Hell mode analysis. The third heroine. All her companions died because of us. What? Sam's eyebrow twitched, surprised to see another heroine. What do you mean because of us? I didn't do anything. Oh my God. Chloe breathed out as she approached him, voice shaky but relieved. I'm so glad to see another human. Everything's been insane. And my whole team. What happened? Sam asked calmly, though his eyes flared with curiosity. You didn't see it? Chloe asked, stunned. That shockwave. From the sun. It turned everyone into monsters. Just like that. They were all standing beside me 1 second, and then they were gone. Sam stared at her for a second. Then he smiled. Not a soft smile. A twisted, amused one. He tilted his head slightly and glanced back at the sky, his gaze locking onto the sun's enormous eye. So that's what you did, he thought, expression cold. Nice trick, but it won't be enough. Even now, the idea of the black sun being some sort of living, reactive entity fascinated him. Could it be fought? Destroyed? We'll kill it eventually. That's what Hell Mode Analysis had told him, which meant maybe it was the lair boss, or perhaps something even more dangerous. Why are you smiling like that? Chloe asked, disturbed. Sam blinked, then glanced back at her. Oh, don't worry about it. Just remembered something. He turned and began walking. I'm heading to the next area. Gonna finish this layer soon. The ruined city has 3 zones, Chloe said, quickly following behind him. The outskirts, the main area, and the luxury district. The next boss is supposed to be the hardest one. You should be careful. Sam gave her a quick look, then smiled again. I'll be fine. She didn't doubt that for a second. This guy, whoever he wasn't normal. I still don't get it, she muttered, walking beside him. Why weren't you affected by the sun's corruption? Sam shrugged. Plot armor. What? Same reason as you, he added. Plot armor. Chloe tilted her head, confused. She clearly didn't get the reference. Sam just kept walking. She didn't press. She was just glad she wasn't alone anymore. But even so, She could sense it. The danger ahead. It wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. Ding. You have entered the luxury district. Proceed as usual. Kill everything. Sam had a good sense for people by now, and despite everything that had happened, he could tell Chloe Vinelord was genuinely a good person. Maybe a little shaken, maybe a bit unsure of herself after all she'd been through, but deep down, she had a strong heart. And her strength? Honestly impressive. Sam had seen many awakeners in the short time he'd been involved with this world, but Chloe's ability was one of the strongest ones yet. It was refined, tactical, probably even stronger than what Lily or Alicia had shown so far. Still, even as he acknowledged that strength, Sam couldn't bring himself to care too much about the tragedy that had befallen her team. He understood now what had happened when he provoked the Black Sun. It had reacted violently. Everyone else in the lair had been consumed by that wave of corruption. Everyone except him and Chloe. But even with that realization, he didn't flinch. It's not our fault. That was enough for him. He looked up at the sky for what felt like the 100th time. The Black Sun was still staring down, the giant eye at its center locked on him, like a predator watching prey that wouldn't die. Too bad for it. He wasn't prey. They were now deep inside the luxury district, the third and final section of the second layer. Unlike the last two areas, this one wasn't dragging on. Sam was cutting through it like a hot knife through butter. "How are you so strong?" Chloe asked breathlessly. She had just seen him take down a dozen monsters in under 10 seconds without even drawing serious attention to it. Sam didn't answer right away. Instead, he gave a small shrug and kept walking forward, tearing apart the next corrupted monster that lunged at them without slowing down. It was ridiculous. Within just 20 minutes of entering this final zone, they were already approaching the area where the final boss would be. Chloe had never seen someone move like this. So smooth, so effortlessly destructive. It was like watching a natural disaster walk on 2 feet. She'd been praised her entire life, called a prodigy, a future leader of humanity. People said she'd be one of the ones to help bring Earth through the Forsaken Realm and rise above the others. But if she was a prodigy, then what was Sam? A god? By the way, Chloe spoke again as they passed through a long alleyway. The air here felt heavier, charged, like something was waiting for them just ahead. "What's your name?" She hadn't asked until now, not because she hadn't wanted to, but because she'd been overwhelmed by the pace of everything. Strangely, she also hadn't tried to analyze his status window even once. Most awakeners did it automatically, even if it was considered rude. But something about Sam had stopped her from doing so. "Sam Walker," he said, glancing at her with a blank expression. Then he smiled. Chloe froze. "Wait, you're that Sam Walker? The one who conquered the sublayer?" Sam gave a slow nod and started walking again, clearly not bothered by the attention. "That makes sense now," Chloe muttered with a quiet breath. "That's why you're so powerful. We need people like you. Humanity needs to push forward. If we don't, we're screwed." They reached the end of the alley, which opened up into a wide, circular plaza filled with abandoned buildings and broken statues. In the center of it, they saw the final boss. City Mayor corrupted. Level 20. Description: ruler of the ruined city. Hell mode analysis. For some reason, you have the feeling something might actually cause you trouble in this encounter. Sam narrowed his eyes. That's the first time it said something like that, he thought. None of the previous bosses had warranted this kind of warning. That alone made him raise his guard. The mayor stood tall, thick frame, elegant suit, and a long coat that flowed behind him despite the still air. A crooked top hat sat on his head, and he held a black cane, its tip cracking with faint, flickering shadows. As Sam stepped forward, the boss reacted. The mayor struck the ground with his cane. Boom! A pulse of dark energy radiated outward in a circle. Sam and Chloe immediately raised their defenses. But strangely, nothing touched them directly. The wave wasn't meant to harm. It was a summon. Fwish! 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 Dozens upon dozens of corrupted monsters began pouring into the plaza from every direction. From alleys, windows, rooftops, crumbling buildings. All types from this layer: weeping shadows, hollow hounds, demonic rats, and much more. They were all here. Our final boss, huh? Sam muttered, smiling faintly. Guess it wants to go out in style. Chloe's eyes widened as the monsters surrounded them. She immediately summoned her vines again and stood beside him. Be careful. There's too many of them. I don't think I'll be able to hold them for long. Sam looked at her sideways. Why would you do that? He asked, confused. What? Chloe blinked. I mean, the mayor's too strong. It usually takes an entire squad to kill him. I thought I could hold off the minions while you focus on. She trailed off when she saw Sam's expression. That logic made perfect sense for normal people. For people who fought on an even playing field. Chloe was smart, tactical, but this situation didn't apply to people like Sam. And for Sam, the gap was just too overwhelming. Instead, he raised his right hand, and his eyes gleamed. Sovereign Inferno, he said. The ground beneath him erupted in a wave of black hellfire, crashing over the entire battlefield like a storm of destruction. The entire boss arena, everything was swallowed in the blaze. Monsters shrieked. The mayor lifted his cane, but didn't even have time to react. Within seconds, every creature caught in the blast had been vaporized. Even the boss. Sam made sure to stay in front of Chloe, shielding her with precise control over the flames. Not a single ember touched her. You're getting better at this surprisingly fast. When the flames died down, nothing remained but ashes except for dozens of glowing cores and loot. Oh my God, Chloe whispered, her eyes wide. This was insane. She could barely process what she had just witnessed. Her companions, her fears, her doubt, it all blurred in the face of what Sam had just done. For the first time since entering this rift, maybe even longer, she felt calm. Sam Walker had obliterated the strongest boss of the second layer, along with its summoned army, in a single attack. The mayor didn't even get a second move. But Sam didn't relax. Not even a little. Hell mode analysis. For some reason, you have the feeling something might actually cause you trouble in this encounter. He had killed the boss instantly. So why did that warning appear to begin with? He gripped his primordial sword tighter. The tendrils wrapped around the cores, absorbing every last one into his body. Ding! Congratulations to Sam Walker for leveling up to level 5 of the apprentice rank. Another level. A good milestone. He felt stronger, faster, more focused, but the tension in the air hadn't lifted. The bad feeling you had intensified. Sam's eyes flicked toward the sky, and sure enough, the black sun was still staring down at him. It's massive. I hadn't blinked, but it was twitching more and more. So, Chloe whispered beside him. We win. Just like that. They both looked ahead. At the far edge of the plaza, beyond where the mayor had once stood, a massive stone gate shimmered with golden light. It pulsed once, then opened. Ding! Sam Walker has defeated the boss of the second layer. The gate to the third layer is now open. You did it. Chloe smiled, but Sam didn't. He was still staring at the sky, still feeling that heavy pressure settle over him like a weight he couldn't shake. The bad feeling you had intensified. He didn't know why, but something told him it wasn't over. Let's go, Chloe said with a faint smile, her voice carrying a sense of urgency. We need to leave quickly to inform the others. A layer like this, people need to know. Sam looked at her silently, sensing her intentions with clarity. She was someone who cared deeply, someone who prioritized the safety of others, who saw warning as duty, who put the survival above everything else. But Sam didn't see things the same way. To him, warning people wasn't the priority. Not yet. Not when something darker still loomed over them. Not when the black sun was still above, its massive eye locked on him, the pressure in the air growing denser with every second. He didn't even respond right away, his gaze never leaving the sky. Plus, there was one more thing he needed to do before leaving. The loot. He started walking toward the center of the plaza, where the city mayor's remains had disappeared and the loot had been dropped. Chloe followed a few steps behind, confused but not questioning it. Sam was already thinking ahead. With his primordial guild slowly forming, he needed funds. Whether it was for a guild base or resources, he would need money. Selling the boss loot, especially from a corrupted final boss, would bring in plenty of that. But just as he and Chloe reached the middle of the arena, the sense of danger that had been gnawing at Sam for minutes suddenly spiked, like a dam breaking. And then, dodge! The message popped in front of him like a scream, and his eyes instantly shot to the sky. The eye of the black sun was gone. Instead, what remained above was a swirling orb of dark power. It charged rapidly, light warping around it. Sam's heart dropped. Shit! Without hesitation, he reached behind him, grabbed the back of Chloe's collar, and yanked her backward. What are you doing? Boom! The world exploded. A dark beam of light shot straight from the sky into the center of the arena. It slammed into the ground like a meteor, creating a shockwave so massive that it blasted Sam off his feet and sent him skidding backward across the stone. His eternal barrier absorbed the impact fully. Only one charge had been consumed, but the weight of that strike was unlike anything else so far. Even with all his power, he felt it. The hatred, the intent. From the blackened crater at the center of the blast, a figure began to rise. A warped, shifting silhouette of pure darkness. You will not escape. Primordial. Chloe staggered up to her feet, her eyes wide and trembling. What is that? Standing in the middle of the impact zone was something entirely new. It had no visible face, only a giant, jagged mouth where its eyes should have been. Its body was pitch black, flickering like heat waves, with two curved white horns growing from its head. The corruption radiated off it in waves. In one hand, it held a jagged bat made of the same material as the sun's dark rays. Black Sun Vessel, Level 20 Description, a vessel the Black Sun uses to attack. Hell Mode Analysis. Its hatred for you has surpassed what I expected. Be careful. Sam stared at it, his eyes narrowing. Why? He asked calmly, the expression on his face unreadable. Why do you hate me? The Abyssal King, now the Black Sun, two major entities, and both of them somehow knew about him. Both of them despised him. You're kind, the vessel growled, pointing the bat at him. Once you disappear, everything will be better. Sam clenched the grip on his sword, his body tensing. The vessel might only be an extension of the Black Sun, but its power couldn't be underestimated. He knew that much already. You don't know anything, the vessel added, stepping forward with slow, heavy movements. But that's fine. All I need to do is kill you. Fwish! Boom! It darted forward at incredible speed, the corrupted bat swinging down with a crash. It collided with Sam's eternal barrier, sparking a ripple of energy. You're not getting through me, Sam said coldly, swinging his primordial sword in response. The vessel twisted at the last second, narrowly avoiding the blade, but didn't retaliate immediately. Instead, the mouth on its face opened wide, revealing a glowing core that began to charge a massive beam of raw energy. Sam's instinct screamed. He couldn't block that, and it might cause a lot of hits on his eternal barrier. And so he made his decision instantly. Void Rush. He decided to use the skill he hadn't tried until now. Void Rush. Rank, Forsaken, Description. You become one with the shadows, able to blend in them to surprise your enemies. You can remain in them for as long as you need. He dropped into the ground, vanishing into the shadow beneath his own feet just as the energy reached its peak. The vessel paused, mouth glowing. Escaping, it sneered. You cannot escape. This entire realm wants you dead. Whoosh! Boom! The beam fired, tearing through the plaza like a laser, carving buildings in half and annihilating everything in its path for hundreds of meters. Chloe could only watch, her heart pounding. She would have surely died if it was aimed at her, but strangely enough, the monster didn't attack her. Not once. This monster was here for one reason only, and it was Sam. Underneath the ground, Sam flowed through the shadows like water. Silent. Swift. It was the same trick the Abyssal King had once used against him. Now it was his turn. He emerged right behind the vessel, rising from the shadow like a ghost. And slash! He struck clean through the creature's arm before it could fully react. The limb dropped to the ground with a thud, and the vessel howled, stumbling as it swung its bat in retaliation. Crack! It hit Sam's barrier again, but by the time it turned around, Sam was already back in the shadows. "You didn't answer me," Sam's voice echoed coldly. The vessel snarled, scanning the area, but Sam wasn't in sight. Until, fwish, slash, Sam appeared again, this time striking the creature's legs from behind, forcing it to collapse to one knee. "You think you're going to win," the vessel said in a low, grim chuckle. "But it's too late. Everyone already knows about you." Sam's eyes narrowed. "What? Even if you defeat me, which you won't," the voice twisted, the sun's influence rising behind it, "the others will still kill you, even if it means destroying this world." That was the Black Sun speaking now, not just the vessel. It was using it like a puppet to voice its malice. Sam said nothing. He simply raised his sword again. "Shut up." The blade came down, but this time, the vessel twisted around with unnatural speed. "Got you," it said with glee. The bat swung wide, knocking Sam's sword off course before the creature lunged and grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off the ground. "You can't escape now." Sam's eyes widened slightly. Damn it, he hadn't seen that coming. It had baited him into getting close. Now he was caught, held in the creature's grip, its corrupted energy crawling over his skin, though he was immune. And above them, the Black Sun continued to watch, its presence growing heavier by the second. "Die," the vessel growled, its voice rough and jagged like broken glass. Without warning, the arm Sam had cut off moments ago regenerated with a grotesque squelch. In the same motion, the creature summoned its blackened bat back into that newly formed hand, as if nothing had ever happened. Then it raised the weapon high and swung. Fwish! Slam! Sam's eternal barrier flared to life as the blow connected. Then another, and another. Each strike shook his entire body. The force behind them was relentless. The corrupted weapon crashed down again and again, and though the barrier held, Sam could feel the weight of each hit stacking. "Can that barrier of yours last forever?" The vessel taunted, its monstrous mouth twisting into a grin. "We shall see." Bam! 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 The sound of impact echoed through the ruined plaza. The vessel wasn't stopping. It had no need to. But something else was rising too. Sam's will. His body ached. The barrier flickered. He could feel on the brink. But instead of fear, Sam's eyes sharpened with focus. 40 hits in. That was enough. Sam raised his arm toward the sky without warning and activated abyssal obliteration. In an instant, two colossal dark portals tore open above him and the vessel. From them, dozens, no, hundreds of shadow bullets came raining down like a storm. Bang! 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 They rained on the arena, striking both Sam and the vessel. But while Sam was shielded by the last sliver of his barrier, the vessel took the brunt of the barrage. It didn't even flinch. "You're the last one of them," it muttered with a grim finality, its mouth glowing, its tone unhinged. "Just stay put." The implication hung heavy in Sam's mind. The last one? The last of who? But he didn't have time to ask. One of the shadow bullets slammed into the creature's arm, the one holding him, and it loosened its grip just long enough for Sam to twist free and leap back. Fwish! Bam! The vessel was already lunging after him, swinging the bat again, but this time Sam raised his primordial sword and blocked. The blow sent a ripple down his arm, but he held his ground. "I don't know what you're talking about," Sam said firmly, his voice calm in contrast to the chaos. "But it doesn't matter. I'm going to kill you." He deflected another strike, then quickly channeled power into his free hand. Sovereign Inferno. A swirling black flame erupted in his palm, crackling with concentrated power. He hurled it straight into the vessel's chest. Boom! The creature staggered, actually letting out a guttural cry of pain. Sam didn't waste the opportunity. He surged forward and drove his sword through the vessel's massive, jagged mouth, straight down into its skull. With a twist and a clean slash, he sliced the entire thing in half. "You!" The creature gurgled, splitting down the middle. "You're not gonna win." Sam didn't answer. He simply cut its head off. And that was it. Silence. He stood there for a moment, letting out a steady breath, the burning energy around him slowly fading. These monsters are getting way too strong. Using his sword, he absorbed the core of the Black Sun vessel, feeling the dark energy rush into him. Just then, his eyes caught something else. It had dropped an item. He crouched down to inspect it. Before he could touch it, however, a panel formed in the air above it, dark and jagged. "You may have eliminated the Abyssal King, but you will never be able to stop me. This was but a mere vessel, and you struggled this much. So come find me. We'll settle this. The others don't have to get involved." It was the Black Sun speaking directly again. Sam narrowed his eyes. The dropped item shimmered. Second layer, sublayer map, description, shows the location of a second layer sublayer, allowing you to enter it. Hell mode analysis, perfect, smiley face. Makes everything so much easier. Even though the invitation brought a sick feeling to his stomach, it would save him the trouble of searching for the sublayer himself. And if the Black Sun wanted to face him that badly, that meant it was afraid. He stored the map along with the other loot into his spatial inventory, then turned his gaze toward Chloe. She had hidden herself behind a barricade of tightly woven vines, clearly trying to stay out of the fight. Smart, considering how destructive the battle had been. Sam let out a sigh as he looked at her, then thought about Lily and Alicia. 3 heroines from Forsaken. In the original version of the game, they would have joined the protagonist team, grown stronger with him, and helped shape the world's fate. But now, with no main character, they were just powerful individuals lost in a broken story. What did that make them now? Hell mode analysis. They're strong enough to help you drive the plot of the game forward, but the alternative is simply to get so strong you don't need anybody else. Sam nodded slightly. He'd remember that. His eyes shifted to the gate at the far end of the plaza. It was glowing now, its metal surface slowly opening, revealing a swirling silver passage into the next layer. Up above, the sky had begun to clear. The eye on the Black Sun had vanished. Back to normal. It really had been an invitation, a challenge. But referring to these beings as just them no longer felt right. They were more than monsters. They were something else entirely. Entities who understood far more than he did. Creatures who existed beyond the 6th layer and the universal stage. Entities who wanted him dead for reasons he still didn't understand. So Sam gave him a name. The Forsaken Lords. He nodded to himself. 5 more to go. The moment passed. Behind him, Chloe stepped out from her hiding place, looking around at the ruins of the battle. "Why you killed it?" "Yeah," Sam said simply, turning toward the glowing gate. "Let's go." Chloe didn't ask anything else. She just nodded. Together, they walked toward the gate and stepped through. Ding. You have conquered the 2nd layer and are now allowed to enter the 3rd layer. Ding. Your performance was astonishing. Your guild, Primordial, has climbed to the top 100 in the guild ranking. Sam saw the new rankings and let out a rare, amused smile. Most guilds couldn't even make it past the 2nd layer, especially not in hell mode. But he had crushed the bosses, the monsters, and even a vessel of one of the Forsaken Lords. And now his guild was top 100. Still, Sam had no intention of staying at the bottom of the list. He would rise. Whether with a team or alone, it didn't matter. He would become the strongest guild in the world. As the silver light faded, the world around him shifted. The surroundings dissolved. And once more, he was back in reality. I'll deal with what needs dealing, Sam thought to himself, feeling the weight of progress. Then I'll grind a little more and enter that sublayer. If the Black Sun wants me to show up, then I will. But only on his terms. Only when he was ready. After leaving the 2nd layer, Sam returned straight to his hotel apartment without wasting a second. Since Chloe had entered the layer from a different portal, they were each teleported back to their own original entry points. Naturally, they didn't meet again afterward. Not that Sam had expected to. The moment he stepped back into his apartment, he let out a tired breath and headed to the bed. Though he knew it wouldn't last long, he had a brief window of peace before the world began to shake again. He was expecting the news about the corrupted 2nd layer to spread soon. Something like that couldn't be hidden for long. But until it did, he could afford a rest. I should focus on getting a level 10 first. Can't risk staying too low. Normally, Sam would have brushed off the danger and rushed ahead. But after the clash with the Black Sun vessel, even he understood that charging into unknown battles without preparation would eventually get him killed. The vessel was strong, far too strong for something that wasn't even the Black Sun itself. That meant the sun had likely seen the fight, observed him, and made its own judgment. That the Primordial was still vulnerable. Sam sat down and opened his system panel, flipping through his skills and stats. All his current abilities were maxed out, and his overall stats were decent enough. His real path forward wasn't more flashy skills. It was refining his control, his timing, his technique. In pure numbers, he might already be able to defeat early Adept rank Awakeners. But against monsters like the Black Sun, or its kind, he still had a long way to go. He sighed, leaning back and staring at the ceiling. Then he pulled open the interface for his guild. Primordial Guild. Position Leader. Members 1. Status Registered. Guild Ranking 100. Rank 100. Dead last among the top-tier guilds. Sam narrowed his eyes, but he didn't feel discouraged. In fact, he felt the opposite. It was good to be underestimated. He knew that clearing this second layer had already pushed him into the top 100, and if he managed to complete this second sub-layer, or even the third layer, he could probably shoot straight into the top 25. After all, the fourth layer remained unconquered. Even the strongest guilds hadn't cleared it yet. But if Sam somehow managed to beat it, even alone, that would cement him at the top. The strongest guild in the world. He couldn't help but smirk at the thought. It felt far off, but not impossible. The steps were there. He just had to keep walking forward. And at that exact moment, ding, a new notification appeared, but it wasn't from his phone. Not the system. Not even Hell Mode analysis. It was something else entirely. Awakener Association announcement. A meeting will be held between the top 100 guilds to address recent anomalies. All guild leaders must attend. Each may bring 1 or 2 guests. Further details on how to access the meeting will be delivered shortly. The event will take place in 3 days. Sam blinked, then sat up straight in bed, reading the message twice to be sure. A top 100 guild meeting? He had barely made the cut. If he'd cleared the layer just a few hours later, he might have missed it entirely. Still, the message confirmed that the corrupted version of the second layer had likely gone public, or at least to the higher-ups. He knew how the system worked. Once your guild was officially registered with the Awakener Association, you gained access to their resources, events, and internal communications. But to get something this big so soon was unexpected. He could choose to skip the meeting. After all, he was still only rank 100. It's not like anyone was watching him closely. Not to mention that nobody even knew his true identity. But I should go, Sam thought. Not just to make his presence known, but to hear what the others had to say. If the meeting was really about the corruption or the growing instability of the layers, then the information might prove critical. And there was something else too. You need to meet the other leaders. Sam nodded. That was the main reason. He needed to know who they were, who his real competition would be. With that, Sam let out a breath and closed his eyes, letting his mind drift. But every time he shut his eyes, he saw it, that massive, dark silhouette in the sky. The Black Sun, and the way its eyes stared down at him like he was prey. Don't haunt me, Sam muttered to himself. I'm going to kill you. And with that, he finally fell asleep. The next day, sometime around noon, Sam received a message. It was from David. David Union. So you cleared the second layer? Huh? Interesting. Just a heads up, I'd recommend being at least adept, if not expert, before going into the third. It's not easy. Sam raised an eyebrow at the message. He knew David was no joke. Even though the man was now level 1 of the Ascendant rank, his guild was still struggling with the fourth layer. It made Sam wonder, if the fourth layer needed Ascendant rank, would the fifth require a full team of peak Ascendants? Would the sixth, the final one, require full Forsaken rank teams? Possibly. But Sam wasn't too concerned about the normal layers. No, his problems were with the world itself, trying to stop him with the corrupted layers and the sub-layers. Those were where the true danger lay. Later that day, both Lily and Alicia reached out as well. They let him know they'd be running the second layer together soon. Sam simply encouraged them. It would be a good experience for them both. Still, even as the day dragged on, he couldn't shake the boredom. The forums had no new leaks, no real updates, nothing useful, and Rift exploration didn't seem like it would help much at this stage either. That's when a random thought struck him. He sat up from the couch in his apartment and tilted his head. What if I try to speed run the second layer? He opened the web browser and looked it up. Sure enough, the Awakener Association kept records of something called clear time, the total time taken by a team to go from the start of a layer to the end. The current record for the second layer was held by the Union Guild, David's team. Their time? 38 minutes and 57 seconds. That was with over 20 trained Awakeners, specifically optimized for speed clearing that layer. Sam had done it solo, in a corrupted version. We're not going to let that slide, are we? Sam chuckled, shaking his head. Guess not. Time to see if I can beat that record. There were real benefits to doing this. If he broke the record, it would raise his guild's visibility and potentially boost his ranking. And most importantly, it sounded like fun. He was getting bored waiting for the guild meeting, and this was a perfect way to sharpen his skills and train his timing. With that grin still on his face, Sam stood up, stretched, and pulled up his status window one more time. Ding! You have entered the second layer. Sam had gone to the first, outer ring, once more and summoned the portal. He had already cleared the layer once before, but now he was back for a new reason. Speed, a challenge for himself, and maybe for the world too. As soon as he opened the gate to the second layer, a familiar, corrupted energy spilled out from the rift. Once again, the layer had become corrupted. Okay, it's actually starting to feel like this world really is changing around you. Sam raised an eyebrow and rolled his eyes. Really? Who could have guessed? He muttered. 2 runs into the layer so far, and both times it had been corrupted. That kind of luck wasn't luck anymore. And Sam was already convinced it wasn't just coincidence. Still, it didn't slow him down. Without hesitation, he stepped into the vortex. He knew the rules now. The timer starts the moment you drop into the layer and ends when you defeat the final boss. Sam gave a small nod, stretching his arms and rolling his neck as he prepared. Then, thud, his feet hit the ground. He was back on the outskirts of the second layer. Almost instantly, he felt it. The black sun has sensed your presence. Sam didn't even look up. He could feel the entity watching, observing, probably wondering if this time Sam would take the path into the sublayer. Not today, he thought with a grin. Fwish! Boom! He took off in a blur, pulling his primordial sword from his spatial inventory as he sprinted full speed ahead. He slashed through any monster that crossed his path, but ignored anything that wasn't in his direct way. No detours, no distractions, only forward. Just over 3 minutes in, he reached the first wall of mist that marked the boundary to the boss of the outskirts. He didn't slow down for even a second. Phasing through the mist, he entered the open plaza, where the Sentinel General, corrupted, was already standing. You shall purr. Fwish! Slash! Sam didn't let it finish. The corrupted Sentinel's head was already flying before the sentence could be completed. Sam never even broke his stride. Tendrils extended from the primordial sword and absorbed the monster's core on the move. Ding! You have entered the main area. Sam kept going. His feet struck the broken pavement of the ruined streets, his speed never faltering. He was more familiar with the layout now, even though he'd only been here once before. Something about this place had embedded itself into his mind. And just like what had happened in the ruins of the first layer, many of the monsters didn't even try to engage him this time. They're scared of you. Good. Sam kept running, glancing down alleys, cutting corners, and leaping over broken terrain. It took him 8 minutes to reach the next wall of silver mist that led to the second boss, the fallen architect, corrupted. Phasing through, he entered the arena without pause. Fwish! Slash! Just like before, the architect was dead before it even registered Sam's presence. Again, the sword devoured its core. I should easily beat the record, Sam grinned to himself. Ding! You have entered the luxury district, the final area. Sam tore through the polished, ruined streets of the district, ignoring the lavish buildings and mutated monsters that now stood as remnants of what this place once was. Less than 2 minutes later, he reached the final plaza. The city mayor, corrupted, stood at the center, barely raising its cane before. Whoosh! A single swing. One attack. The mayor didn't even get the chance to summon reinforcements this time. It crumbled, and Sam's sword pulled in its energy like always. It was over, and at that exact moment, ding, 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 global announcement. A new clear record has been set for the second layer by the Primordial Guild. Clear time, 14 minutes, 36 seconds. Sam blinked. Oh, right. The first time when he cleared the first sublayer, the announcement had displayed his name. But now that he was officially part of the guild, all of his accomplishments were automatically attributed to the guild itself. Good, he thought. Makes it easier to stay anonymous. But even as he took it in, Sam knew what was happening on the outside. The world was already reacting. What the hell do you mean, new clear time? Wasn't the Union Guild's record unbeatable? Primordial Guild? They cut the time in half. Forums, group chats, alliance discussions. Everywhere people were talking about it. The Union Guild had held the record with over 20 specialized awakeners trained for months to shave off every second. Now, this new guild, Primordial, had seemingly come out of nowhere and demolished their time. Probably a full team of experts who studied the layer perfectly. I just saw them in the top 100 rankings. Brand new guild. They must be amazing. Wonder what their composition is. Not one of them knew that the guild was a single person. Sam didn't care enough to boast about it, either. Instead, he raised his eyes to the sky. The black sun was still up there, but the eye was gone. It wasn't watching. Not actively, at least. Still, he knew it was listening. Sam narrowed his eyes and spoke quietly. "The next time I come," he said, his voice cold, "I'll be there to kill you." A pulse of energy swept across the entire layer in response. The world itself trembled for a second, as if the entity had acknowledged the challenge. But nothing attacked. So Sam turned, stepped through the gate, and left. Even with the achievement, his guild rank didn't budge. Sam understood why. Clearing the layer faster didn't change the fact that other guilds were still deeper into the game, attempting higher-level realms. They had full teams and experience on their side. Still, this put the name of his guild on the reader. That was a start. Back in his apartment, Sam leaned back on the couch. He felt good about it, but something still gnawed at him. He wanted more. I really want to reach adept rank already. But that would take time. For now, he had something else to focus on. The guild meeting. Ding. A new message arrived. Lily Grimoire. Did you guys see that new record on the second layer? That was insane. Alicia Union, yeah. My dad and the generals from the Union Guild are freaking out. They said Primordial is a brand new guild, but already tearing through the ranks. Sam Walker, it's my guild. There was a brief silence. Lily Grimoire, of course. Alicia Union should have expected that. Lily Grimoire, ha. Only Sam would be crazy enough to solo speedrun a layer and set a global record right after forming a guild. The chat continued for a while. They asked a few questions, but Sam didn't reveal much. He answered vaguely, keeping things short. Eventually, the conversation shifted. Alicia Union, so you going to be at the guild meeting in 2 days, Sam? I'm going with my dad and the co-leader. Lily Grimoire, I'll be there too. My dad's one of the senior leaders in the Arcane Society, and they wanted me to assist. Sam Walker, yeah, I'll be there, smiley face. After that, there wasn't much left to do. All that was left now was to wait. The meeting would tell him what was coming. Sam stood up, glancing toward the city skyline beyond his apartment window. He didn't know what the guild meeting would reveal, but something inside him whispered that this was just the beginning.